started. Does anyone want to get out?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Friday Night Frenzy, where WonderBat is always canon, and the topics, they're more like a set of guidelines. So let's let these people out of the rooms. First off, we got...
And I have my mind, and a mind needs books like a sword needs a whetstone.
Hey, Chris, how you doing, buddy?
Doing all right, man. Glad it's Friday. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited for the topic, but we got a special guest here, so I don't have a regular one, so I'll just use this.
Well, that's just prime.
Hey, Dadey, how you doing, buddy? Oh, looks like he's kind of...
Hello. So, thank you for having me on. I have not been on a live stream over two years, so I'm probably a little rusty.
Well, let's get those creaks out, shall we? How about you kind of start off by telling everyone what's so special about you? Why are you so awesome? Daddy?
Good chat there.
Yes. The strong silent type. I really do appreciate it. All right. So, how are you guys doing today, Chris? What's up with you? What you've been doing? What you've been playing? What you've been working on?
Oh man, dude, so I'm probably gonna break my rule of don't tell people what you're doing. Telling people, instead tell people what you've done. But yeah. Oh man, dude, I just got my shipment of something called HeroScape in today. And I'm the reason why I purchased all of it. It's now a defunct board game / toy, but it has a lot of similarities to what I'm doing with my Infinitale fantasy role playing game system. And dude, I got a thermal printer that prints ID cards, so it's like you can print the thick plastic cards, not just the paper ones. Yeah, and those will be what I most likely will be leveraging in my proof of concept / early crowdfunding campaign for the role-playing game stuff.
So, Chris, this is what I got to say to you.
Whoa.
I never got into HeroScape myself, but, I know what it is, and I know all that stuff about it. And, yeah, that must have cost you a pretty penny.
Oh, yeah. So what I'm hoping to do is... Looks like Dade. Hopefully he'll be
he's
back.
kind of having some issues. So the other two members, Jared and Nix, they're running a bit behind. I think Jared's out golfing, and then Nix, she's got her family kind of people, so they'll be in when they're ready. Nice,
sweet. Yeah, the HeroScape stuff. Dade's back.
Sorry, I had to clear some cookies because my computer kept saying it's having connection issues. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Were they chocolate chip cookies?
They were not the kind that were very good. I can tell you that right now.
No.
So tell us a bit about yourself and kind of tell us what you've been up to.
Well, despite how my voice sounds, I'm actually 50 years old. I am the father of a United States Air Force veteran daughter.
Respect.
I am retired from the military for a while back.
Thank you for your service.
That's fine. And today's my day off. I help run a grocery store in the meat department, and I'm just kind of a laid back guy. I guess I'm the elder statesman. So my opinions and views may vary from everybody else here.
That's fine. Disagreement is okay. Disrespect is not. That's what we always say around here.
Yep.
I have been reading comics since I was about 3 years old, so since 1975.
Nice.
2 or 3 years old, 1975 and one of my uncle, rest his soul, used to have these little miniature digest of reprinted Spider-Man comics that I started reading, and then I eventually graduated to regular comics, and Batman was always one of my favorites. Just it wasn't because he had the money or the toys, it was just because you grew up with Neil, Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams. You kind of like that kind of, and then Wolferman Perez for the Titans. There, that kind of sets the bar for everybody. And up until I really haven't read much comics within the last 10 years because it's you get a certain age to where your time and energy is limited. When you got grandbabies and. It's like, you can screw around on Twitter all you want, but you got the grandkids; they deserve your attention. And so I really watch more of the TV shows and the movies, which is why I asked to be on, or I was invited on, because it's kind of like have the topic of the day is, have the Fox movies actually stood up, and I'm going to answer that yes and no, and we'll get to probably why down the road here.
Yep, and I'm sure as a grandfather, you say this a lot.
Pizza time.
Sorry, it was just perfect. It was perfect. So yeah. So before we get into the main topic, please like, comment, subscribe. What's your favorite Fox movie? What's the worst one? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Just let me know in the comments below. You got to do those little call for action. So I'm going to kind of get this going with just saying, honestly, the Fox Marvel films, those are what I grew up on, because I'm 35 years old. And so like I was a teenager, like I was a perfect age for like, we're mostly talking about the films of the 2000s with a little bit of the 2010 stuff. Because but really the first 5 years. 2000, 2005 was really a really interesting time, because you had comic book movies before this. Obviously, you had Superman 77, Batman 89, and like the various stuff before there. But you never really had like a big wave of comic book movies. Like where they're just coming out like one every year, multiple times a year. You really didn't start getting that until about 2000, and that's when you had. X-Men 2000. I know it's kind of fashionable to kind of ignore the X-Men movies nowadays because of the director Bryan Singer is kind of a POS, and I get that, but those movies are more than its director, and that's really the big thing that I really want to say here is, the director is kind of a POS, but the movies themselves are really great, and I think it's kind of a shame to discount the hard work of the actors, the special effects, everyone else who worked on that film, just because the director is a POS. That's kind of my thing. And one of the big things that they originated is the Stan Lee cameo. So the first Stan Lee cameo was in Trial of the Incredible Hulk. That was the big one. But like the first Stan Lee cameo as we know it was in X-Men. and
wasn't that Romita in there too, just looking at him like the guy's been set on fire?
I think so, possibly.
Or is that a Quesada joke? I think that was Quesada.
I honestly can't remember. I think there was more people in there, but yeah. Also, rest in peace, John Romita Sr. By the way. And you had a Stan Lee cameo in practically every movie. Since we're on the topic of Stan Lee cameos, I got to give a shout out to probably my favorite Stan Lee cameo, which was in Fantastic Four: Rise of Silver Surfer.
Invitation, sir.
I should be on that list.
Name?
Stan Lee.
Yeah, nice try, buddy.
No, really, I'm Stan.
Okay, you want to know why that is my favorite cameo?
Probably because it mirrors the comic book that him and Jack Kirby can't get into their own wedding.
Yeah, that's the best. And the thing is, his cameo in Fantastic Four 1 is actually good too, because he plays the mailman, which is an actual character from the comics. So I was like, that was cool. And I believe Fantastic Four was actually the first time Stan Lee had a speaking cameo. And most of the time it was silent. I believe Fantastic Four was the first time he actually spoke. I could be wrong.
Honestly, Nick, if I can interject here, if we really want to get technical, from my viewpoint, I think Mallrats is the actual, first real Stan Lee cameo, and he actually has a few lines, and he's trying to help our heroes, get over their slump, and it's you gotta have, hey, a sailboat. That's all there is to it.
Okay, I'm gonna do something you guys will never believe. I'm gonna say something good about Captain Marvel. But first, we have a new person introduced into the mix. I need to find there. There we go.
I don't care.
Hey, Nix, how you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Pretty good. We're just talking about the Fox films right now. We're just kind of talking about the various Stan Lee cameos. And I was actually about to say something good about Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
So we're talking about like the Mallrats cameo Stan Lee. I will say this: the Stan Lee and Captain Marvel, the fact that he's reading the script to Mallrats, I gotta be honest, that is a nice touch. Like I gotta give them props. Like it's in the 90s. Like you could have the headcanon that he's actually heading to make the cameo that time. Like I gotta give him credit. That was nice.
Yeah. Good placing it in its own time period.
Now, was that a fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break, to make 16 walls?
Oh, dear God. Okay, fine. I'll roll the clip.
Fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break. That's like 16 walls.
Dee Dee, for the record, I need to say this. So, Nix, since you kind of took a while to get out of your room, I mean, I unlocked the door like 10 minutes ago. I don't know why you didn't jump out, but like, what is your kind of like overall feelings about the Fox movies? Of the 2000s.
Well, it's kind of complex because on some level I do genuinely love them. Like for certain reasons, like kind of nostalgia blinding, but at the same time I'm also very aware that they are very flawed movies.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you look at it to like what Marvel's doing now, these are like bona fide masterpieces by comparison.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
See, that's the thing. Like everyone says, like, oh yeah, these movies are flawed. Which, yeah, they're flawed. But if you compare it to She-Hulk, if you compare it to, literally any Marvel film that's come out in the past 3 years, these things are freaking Citizen Kane by comparison.
Well, that, and also, like, I think a lot of the time in this day and age, we forget that things kind of, everything has its flaws, Nothing's perfect, and nothing needs to be perfect. I'm not looking for some pure, perfect, like, cinematic masterpiece.
No comic book movie is perfect except Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Blade.
Blade's pretty great.
Oh yeah, I've made my feelings about like the modern interpretation of Blade known very well, but yeah. So okay, to reiterate, yes, Blade is a good movie, but like people try and like, oh, Blade was the first modern Marvel movie. No, it wasn't. It at best, it was a precursor. It was presented. It is a vampire movie. It was marketed as a vampire movie. The fact that it was based on a comic book movie character was like relegated to like the trivia you tell people on the bus. Like, oh, did you know that Blade was actually a comic book character? Because like, I was alive during all this. It's like, and this kind of reinterpretation really only happened within the last 5 years or so. And I think part of it is due to, Bryan Singer and people not wanting to give X-Men the acknowledgement because of him. I can partially understand that, but it's just you can't rewrite history to that degree.
Mm-hmm.
No.
You know, the thing is, a lot of people that think they know what they know about the comic book movie industry right now is they're either failing to forget or they're not willing to acknowledge that we had a huge jump from the Christopher Reeve Superman movie to the Keaton Batman movie and all the garbage that came out after that. And, you know, you can, I mean, I have my feelings about the movies the way I do, but you get to Blade, and, you know, not only was it a New Line Cinema movie, but it was really in association with Marvel, but it was really taking a risk at a time when you had stuff like Batman and Robin and Steel, which, I think it's an unfair, and Meteor Man, which gets overlooked, and that was an original
Blank Man,
stuff that was just out there to either get money or just give you a chuckle, which a lot of them do still do a good job, and you just have to remember the time that they came out.
Yeah.
And so with really you're making a huge jump from Christopher Reeve Superman to Keaton Batman to Blade, then to X-Men, which was really taking a gamble considering everything else that came before it.
Yeah, put this into consideration.
I don't recall people hating it at the time, but what made them change their mind?
Well, here's the thing you got to consider, DD. Superman 4 came out in 87, and then obviously Batman 89 came out in 89, and it looks like completely different movies almost. Hey, Kay Keeley. How you doing? Keeley. And then, like, you look at Batman and Robin, I think came out the same year as Blade, actually. I think they both came out in 97.
So. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because Blade, I think, came out in, 97, 98, and I believe Batman and Robin was 97.
Yeah.
So, you have, and if you look at Batman and Robin and Blade, they're, completely different universes. And it's just the thing is, obviously, DD, you're a fellow old fart, so you were around as well as I was. I was 10 years old in 97, and so you might have a different perspective on these than I do. But I clearly remember this era. I saw Batman and Robin in theaters. I saw X in theaters. That was a good movie to see in theaters, by the way. But X-Men was a huge deal. X-Men was for the longest time, it was the one that broke the mold. I feel like X-Men is the one that set the template for superhero films that we're still following today.
It did, and that's mainly because, like you said, Blade was it wasn't marketed as a superhero movie, and I think everybody was. And no disrespect to Joel Schumacher, I've seen a lot of his other films. He's really good at what he does on a certain level. He's swing and a miss sometimes, but he gets directives from the companies that say, we want you to do this, and he's like, okay, I got to put this product out. And so everybody loves to riff on Batman and Robin. That's fine. But
here's what I always say about Joel Schumacher and Batman: go watch The Lost Boys. The Lost Boys is basically a blueprint of the Batman movie we could have gotten. Because if you look at The Lost Boys, it has a very a tone, kind of a feel of almost it shows that Joel Schumacher could have made a really good Batman movie. Not necessarily a Burton-esque one, but it still would have been a good Batman movie. Because just look at The Lost Boys. That is that shows that he can do a Batman movie.
Mm-hmm. So what I was getting to is that with the X-Men, it was out saying, hey, we're a superhero movie, as to where Blade was, no, we're an action vampire movie. Mm-hmm. And in 2000, you gotta remember, this is literally 1 year before 9/11. We still were, wiping away the carnage that was the Batman and Robin buffoonery.
Yeah, I think people nowadays who don't remember the 90s,
we were taking a risk with we were taking a risk with the Bryan Singer X-Men, and that's why we didn't get the yellow spandex, so to speak.
Yeah, they're trying to sell it.
Yeah, and the other thing I want to notice is, really, it was a 1-2 punch. You had X-Men in 2000, and then Spider-Man in 2002 is really what X-Men may have opened the door, but Spider-Man is what solidified, hey, yeah, this could work. because we didn't really get any superhero movies in 2001, but after 2002, the floodgates were open.
Well, we didn't really get anything in 2001, and I would in regards to Spider-Man bouncing off of X-Men, you have to give that to Sam Raimi, because if it wasn't for Sam Raimi, I don't think the Maguire trilogy of Spider-Man would have ever happened.
Definitely, for sure. And it all comes back to passion, because Sam also, before I gotta say, yes, hashtag release the Schumacher cut. I gotta give that a shout out.
I actually want to see what he would have left in, because there are bits and pieces. If you watch Batman Forever, it's like, where does this connect and why?
Yeah, for sure. Like that's that's a different kind of episode. We're kind of going a little bit off topic, but like,
right.
But yeah, Sam Raimi obviously loved Spider-Man, and he loved a very particular version of Spider-Man. He liked the John Romita kind of era of Spider-Man, like the late 60s, early 70s-esque kind of Spider-Man, and it showed on screen. He made a very particular type of Spider-Man film, and he's honestly just a really good director, and it showed, and I think that's why it works. But yeah, like so like Spider-Man is Sony, not really part of what we're talking about, but he's kind of important since we're kind of going over like the history and importance. But like after 2003 is really when the floodgates opened, and you got stuff like Daredevil, which is really a favorite film of mine. I gotta say,
that was 2003.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, I thought that was like 98 and 97.
Oh, dear God.
I'm old. Sorry.
No, well, the thing is, Daredevil really kind of slots in well to kind of like this post-Matrix vibe that like basically every film from like 2000 to about 2004 was doing. And yeah, and it's like, we think the Charlie Cox version is violent, but it never got this bad.
Hey, that light at the end of the tunnel, guess what? That's not heaven. I'm killing you, I'm killing you. That's the C train.
Oh,
like I just want to give a shout out to like, look how good that is lit, how good everything this like Daredevil is like one of the first films to use heavy color grading in their projects, and it shows. Like that film, it's honestly a very beautiful film. I got to admit.
Yeah.
Watch the director's cut. It's better. Well, yeah. By the way, he's coming back for Deadpool 3. So.
Hey.
And then I believe it was 2004. We got X2. But yeah, like obviously, I want to go back to X-Men 2000 because I have clips I want to show. But X-Men 2000, obviously it was Hugh Jackman, and I think really they may not have gotten the costumes right, but I believe they got the characters. As far as the characterizations, I feel like they were spot on. Like Xavier, Magneto. I think Wolverine for the most part was done really well. But yeah.
I come from a different perspective of that. I remember when X-Men was coming out. A lot of my friends were still the comic book readers, and they're like, "Isn't he? What's with this guy? He's too damn tall and everything else." I said, I said, "Oh my God, you guys are like, you're pulling a Keaton." They're like, "What are you talking about?" Like, everybody whined when Keaton was cast as Batman. Then, you snubbed him, then you love him, and then now everybody's like, "Oh, Wolverine without Hugh Jackman." I'm like, okay, it's just it's a representation, So even with the 2000 X-Men, it's like if they were to try to do everything comic accurate, it would be ridiculous.
So this was the movie's response to all the hate.
Hey, it's me.
Prove it.
You're a dick.
Okay.
Sorry, I just like it's set up really well. And yeah, the movie's a bit basic. Like the whole plot is a bit kind of like it's like. It's solid, but like it's like, okay, we need to do this. We need to establish this character's motivation. We need to put this place here, and it doesn't have a lot of fat, but it's fine. It works, but it does have some really really good action scenes. So I will say while cool, just looks a little wonky.
Yeah.
You know, the one thing that set a standard here was Rebecca Romaine as Mystique. Everybody wants to talk about Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique, but the character of Mystique is, Rebecca Romaine having practically no speaking parts, and it's all action, all facial expression, all physical response. That's Mystique. I mean, she set a template for what characters should be.
Rebecca Romaine owes her career to Jennifer Lawrence because we all know Jennifer Lawrence is a
Oh yeah, I'm
sorry. Every time Jennifer Lawrence is mentioned, I have to bring up that joke because it's just so good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, first woman to do anything.
Right. What was it? I was watching a Spoonie episode.
Thank God that Jennifer Lawrence was Katniss Everdeen in Hunger Games back in the 2010s, because without her, Rebecca Romaine would not have been able to play Mystique back in 2000. God bless you, Jennifer Lawrence.
I was watching a Spoonie episode, and there was a cut scene where they said, "Yeah, we invented wrestling. The Greeks stole it from us."
Oh wow, dear God!
Fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break. That's like 16 walls.
I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. Like, yeah, and X2 is, I friggin' love that movie. Like, I saw it in theaters. Fun fact, that Christmas, my very first DVD that I ever owned was X2 X-Men United.
Oh, nice.
Because the way that, like, Christmas with my family worked, we had Christmas Eve at my Nana's house and Christmas Day at my family's house. So, on Christmas Eve, I got X2, and, my family had a DVD player. The next day, I got my own DVD TV. So it's, kind of the genius by my family. So yeah, I watched that movie a lot, watched a lot of the special features. It's just honestly a really, really great movie. And let's see here. But yeah, I do want to talk about like the one scene in X2 that like modern day people seem to obsess over.
So, when did you first know you were
a mutant?
First off, for all the people who say like progressivism didn't happen until 2015, they did that scene in 2004. Okay, first off, I like that scene because mutants are an allegory for any oppressed minority. Gays, blacks, Jews, whatever. Okay. So that and so like having that scene I thought was great. I like that scene. I think it's great. I just don't like the modern interpretation that X-Men is all about racism or like LGBT stuff. It can be, but that's not all it is about. I'm sorry, I just had a little quick back.
Well, my take on it isn't so much that comics were never political or anything like that, so much as they weren't partisan. Like all comics back in the day were political, everything. But the difference between what happened then versus what happens now is that we're witnessing more propaganda. We're witnessing more Bolshevik marketing
and less subtlety.
Marketing.
Less subtle.
Yeah, no, we're given sermons. We're basically told this is the moral ground you should stand on, and if you don't, you're a bad person. Whereas back in the day, it was this is an issue, whether or not we're not going to tell you how you should feel about it.
Yeah, like just look at how they played that scene. Now, obviously, anyone who knows is that's kind of a coming out. Like, have you always known you're gay? Like that's kind of a thing. Like especially back then, that was like a phrase that was used a lot. But the way they played the scene, if you didn't know what they're talking about, this scene went right over your head.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And that's how good storytelling should be. Sorry,
I honestly have to interject here with this little tidbit. if you're not a parent, you don't get this scene from a certain perspective either. I remember when my daughter came out to me, and she was, definitely scared to tell me.
Oof.
I just sat down with her and my ex-wife at the time, and she says, I need to, come out and everything. And we're like, yeah, that's fine. And she was just like, are you serious? I was like, well, it's like, look, you got to remember who you're talking to. You got to remember how I was raised, a very, Midwestern kind of guy. And it's like, look, you're my kid. I love you. If this is who you are, that, remember, it's a part of who you are. It's not all of who you are.
Exactly.
And I think that's the biggest problem is everybody over embellishes it as it's all of who you are, not part of who you are, and that's detrimental. So when I go back, when my daughter and I occasionally will watch this, she goes, hey, I get that. It's like, yeah, I know you do. But
also,
perspectives being what they are.
Yep.
Also, certain people on Twitter would flay me alive if I did not play this clip.
I can do a lot more than that.
I'm sorry, it was suggested to me on Twitter, and I knew that if I did not play that. Also, can I just take a moment? Look at how good the CG effect is of like the tea turning into the ice. That looks that still looks amazing to this day.
Well, that was a good blend of CG to practical effect too, and I think the bigger problem that we have with a lot of movies anymore in general is everything's over CGI, and it's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Well, did you guys ever see that special where they showed CGI that nobody knew was CGI? Like a lot of, what was that show? Ugly Betty or whatever? All of their exterior shots were 100% CGI and nobody knew. Like, that's amazing. Like,
or
CGI
even better, just look at the behind the scenes for like Mad Max Fury Road. Because like, oh, Mad Max Fury Road, it's a showcase of return to practical effects. And while yes, that's correct, they actually still use a lot of CG. They just used it the right way, in more subtle ways. Like if you look at the behind the scenes, it is crazy. Like the CG they do that you just never notice.
Yeah, that's how CG should be. You should never notice.
Exactly. Exactly.
I found out recently that Disney's The Great Mouse Detective actually was one of the first movies to utilize, in animation at least, use CGI. And they used it very well. I honestly couldn't tell the difference
the
between
clock
the
tower
hand-drawn
sequence, I
stuff.
believe.
Yeah, and it gives it the proper weight that it's supposed to have. Like you look at the gears, and you just know.
If we're talking about like bad CG and weight, I gotta play this clip. We're kind of jumping ahead, but you just got me the perfect segue next.
They're not even lit.
That always, oh God, that always kills me.
The movie has a lot of problems. This is one of them. Like, this is just one of the problems of the movie. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I'm pretty sure like After Effects at that time could have done a better job than that. Like, that looks like After Effects from that is like 5 years old to this movie. Looks like they used a 5-year-old copy of After Effects to make that. But
hurts.
5 years old as of the making of that movie.
He's using practical, real quote claws. I'm like, oh God, shoot me.
Yeah, in most of the X-Men movies, he's using actual real claws, and just like I it's like the way he's moving, it feels like the claws are weightless,
They kind of look like foam to me.
Well, they're not lit. There's no self-shadowing, and they're not even color corrected to match the lighting of the scene. And
or even
not only that, they're reflecting. Oh, sorry.
Also, if you look, I gotta turn on my cam for this to make it. But you look at like when it goes into his when it kind of goes into his arms, it literally clips into his skin. Like dear God.
Yeah, there's
amateur hour.
Well, Nix is right. It's exceptionally big time amateur hour because, like I said, you look at the other X-Men videos. Could you actually have the clip of where his claws are coming out when he's in the bar after Rogue tells him to watch out if you ever get that, pull that up.
I have a better clip from the first movie I want to show. When he accidentally stabs Rogue.
Right.
I feel like that. I have to get it up on YouTube, but like, that one I think because like there's more going on to that scene. You know what I'm saying? Let's see here. Present.
Well, what I was getting to is Nick's pointed out it's very amateur hour, and I said, well, and it's like, yeah, because if you look at any other scene, especially when you do the close up of his claws popping out,
I'm about to. Like, look at that! It's practical. Like, see how he retracts them, and like, yeah, it's kind of like
exactly.
Let me slow it down. No, it's not how you do it. Playback speed. I'm gonna do it at 0.5 speed. Okay. Let's watch. See how it becomes like digital? That looks good.
Yeah.
It really looks like she got stabbed.
Yeah, and then this clip right here of wait for it.
Where his wounds open up?
Not like that, but like look at her. Like that was a physical thing they put on her. And look at how it heals. Like it's a little morpho, but like that's still good.
Yeah.
This movie came out in the year 2000. This movie came out 22 years ago.
23.
Yeah, 23.
23 years ago.
Yep.
And I'm just gonna say this. She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Oh.
That twerking scene. Oh God.
Or I was just gonna say She-Hulk in general. She looks like absolute like.
It just seems the more money they get, the cheaper they become.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna say this. One of my favorite examples of good CGI, Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Like you actually can believe he's on screen there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When he's having a conversation with himself. Nobody likes you.
Like I gotta show this for perspective, guys. This is the 2003. Like, by the way, we should be talking about this movie as well. But like, just look at this. Like,
put him to sleep.
Like it doesn't look like amazing, but it still looks better than She-Hulk.
Like, it's not hard to look. It's not hard to look better than She-Hulk. I mean, people rag on this movie, but everybody's actually trying. And
just look at the Hulk. They got like Chris was saying.
Yeah.
They got like realistic lighting. It doesn't look good, but it still looks they're at least trying to put him as part of the scene.
Yeah. And remember, they did this as if it was a comic book come to life with the formatting.
Also, I gotta give you a shout out, Dee. I love your timing, and as soon as you said that, this clip appeared. Yeah. That is perfect timing. So thank you.
Well, that's why the Hulk looks so good in this movie, is because it's meant to be a comic book, you know. And he really, I mean, you slam on this movie all you want, but everybody's trying, so and he looks good.
Yeah. Well, in defense of I'm not defending She-Hulk, but in one point, in favor of why it looks crappier than a feature-length film is that the budget that She-Hulk was given and the amount of time that they were given were a little different from feature. Like Disney knew that they had feminist propaganda stuff on their hands, and they're like, I don't know if this is going to sell, so we're going to put it in a test stream market first. And they really treat special effects artists like crap. Like I've worked with several of them, and these people do not
notoriously bad.
The other thing is Victoria Alonso, who was running like the special effects thing, was really a big portion of why a lot of this stuff looked bad. And there's a reason why they fired her.
Oh yeah, dude, but like the movie, let's just say like theoretically, because I can't give you exact numbers, but like say the movie was given 2 years for post-production with, you know, a couple $1 million worth of budget. That's what their special effects team was working with for the movie. The TV show was given maybe 10 million to 15 million, and like they were measured their progress in like weeks.
The other thing is, correct if I'm wrong, Chris, but like the other problem is Marvel kept changing their minds. Like they kept demanding like last minute, like a shot could have been completed 6 months ago. They're like, oh hey, could you change the cape to be blue? And they're like, we have to redo the entire scene to make it blue.
Yeah, no, they're like, we want it this week.
Yeah. It's like totally unrealistic demands. And the only reason they got away with it is because they're Marvel, because they're DC. Like I heard it got to the point where like artists were refusing to work on these projects.
Well, it's so heartbreaking because the people that I worked with, like that was they all wanted to aspire to work for Marvel or work for Disney as, concept artists or special effects artists, animators, whatever. And then once they got there, it was so sad watching via LinkedIn and via, conversations, how they basically had their dreams crushed before them. And they realized that these big studios treat them like absolute garbage and don't pay them shit, dude. These guys are living paycheck to paycheck, some of them. And I don't know if you guys recall, but they had the green screen protest a while back when they fired the entire team that did The Life of Pi, which was one giant.
Oh dear God!
Movie. And they won awards
for it.
Yep, and nobody who worked on that team could even be there to accept it.
That was bullshit.
Oh,
that was like
shitty.
Wasn't it because like I actually watched a video about that a few weeks ago, but like wasn't it because they were like refused to pay them? They couldn't find any work in the meantime or something. I can't remember exactly what it was. Because Rhythm and Hues was a storied effects house. Like they were one of the OGs. Like it was like obviously ILM, but Rhythm and like if you couldn't afford ILM, you went to Rhythm and Hues.
Yeah.
Like Rhythm and Hues was right up there with ILM as some of the best special effects houses.
I honestly, as much as we talk about like indie comics and stuff, indie animation and crowdfunded films, I think will be the future, especially now with what we're seeing with like all the AI controversies in Hollywood and the strike and all this stuff. Well, the strike aren't affecting people who aren't in unions, and there's a lot of amazing creators out there that are creating stuff that worked in these industries, got treated like crap, and said, you know what? If I'm not going to get paid, at least I'll do something that I want to do. And they crowdfunded these things.
Did you see the story about there's this guy who did special effects for Andor is now creating a fan film, like he's recutting Obi-Wan into like a movie and he's like shooting like brand new scenes and it looks amazing.
Oh, dang. Nice.
Damn.
Looking like, oh my God. Obi-Wan. Guys, talk while I pull this up.
Sure. I just want to send out a plug to this one Kickstarter campaign that I backed. Speaking of indie animators and stuff, this guy Denver Jackson, who is a Canadian animator.
Like me.
Yeah, and dude, like I'll put in the private the link to his video, but he actually crowdfunded and he basically worked out of his own pocket for like, I think he said for like 2 years straight. And so it's a passion project. And the stuff that he's pulling off, it looks.
Send me a link. I'll post in the chat. So
it's like Studio Ghibli.
So shout out. We're watching Eckhart's Ladder. So this is an Eckhart's Ladder. I just want to, I like his stuff. Trying to check it out. But like,
Kenobi. The footage you're watching right now is
just look at the comparison
between the original Kenobi series and what this fan editor has done in post-production. Nobody is creating and editing content like this content creator, and it's a massive shame that not many people are focusing on it compared to your other edits that released pretty close to when Kenobi came out.
Like, look at how good that looks.
This wasn't all just done in After Effects, Blender, Maya, and whatever applications this editor used either. He brought in makeup artists, actors, and a whole green screen. Reshoot.
How insane is this?
Scenes.
This is awesome.
Even just looking at these effects, how on earth are these studio quality and made by just one guy? Well, the answer to that is he's actually a VFX editor for Andor. Going through his Reddit posts, he talks about what.
Yeah. This is a video I watched, but yeah, just look at like seriously.
That's a level of dedication I could never achieve.
See, this is why nerds and fandoms are a good thing. We talk about all the toxicity, but when somebody loves something and they're not even getting paid for it, and they're doing it because they've honed these, like, what do they call it, like weaponized autism or whatever?
Yeah,
like,
pretty much.
That is a good thing, man. These are the people that'll advocate for your product long after people have lost interest to revitalize it.
See, here's the reason, and I guess is a tangent we're going on now, but like, here's the thing. Like, nerddom survived for 30, 40 years because of people like us, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. Yeah, Star Trek is a perfect example. And it's like, now that it's mainstream, it's like, oh, it's like from Toy Story, I don't want to play with you anymore. And it's like, at first, I think we're kind of getting to the point where, like, we're getting past the nerd rage, and we're starting to get to the acceptance where, like, okay, fine, you don't want me anymore, fine, I'll just create my own stuff with blackjack and hookers, and we saw it in indie comics. Indie games was there for a while. I think indie games is still doing good, but indie games is becoming a bit corporate. So I think we might see like another indie game revolution here in the next 10 years or so. Indie animation, indie cinema, that's just a powder keg waiting to happen right there. The thing is, we're really starting to see parallel economies just really pop up all over the place. Like, comics are doing, like, here's the thing. A writer's strike is just going to benefit me. I do indie comics, so it's like it's just going to benefit. It's just a net benefit for me. So, like, whatever. But like, a lot of this stuff has just been needing change. I'm going to say something that might be a little bit radical.
Oh.
Normally, I'm not one to advocate for unions, but video game devs need to unionize.
Okay. So when I was in the industry, all developers were basically made to feel like they were 100% expendable because there was a very low supply. There was a very low demand for your job, but a very high demand for supply, or a very high supply, meaning that if you don't want to crunch for the next 9 months and not see your family and possibly get divorced and all this stuff, that's okay. Somebody else will come in and replace you. And that's why the unions will never work in game development, because as soon as you say strike, all of the scabs just come in before you can even finish your, monosyllabic word or whatever. Like, you could go, boom, your job's gone. Like,
how long do you think that's going to go on for? Because there's got to be a point where everyone knows how crappy the working in the game industry is.
You'd be surprised how dude, that industry is designed to chew up naive 20-somethings and shit out jaded 30, 40-somethings that are, basically on their, like, almost unemployable at that point because they're so specialized. And basically what I think we'll see happen is indie game development will eventually replace, kind of like when the dinosaurs went extinct, the indies or the mammals, kind of the smaller scoped projects, came from the wreckage. And when you have SDK software development kits available like Unreal Engine or Unity or these things that were, I wish they had this back 20 years ago when I was getting into the industry. Like, those things are so accessible now that you could literally have a team of one make a game that could compete against AAA developers.
Here's what I think is going to happen. I think the video game industry is going to go the way of the VCR, the DVD player, and we're all going to coalesce on one platform. And I think that's going to be Linux PC gaming, not necessarily Windows, but I think it's going to be Linux just because F Microsoft. And so I think you'll still have your Nintendos, but like I think Sony is going to stop making consoles. Like, I feel like the shift is already happening because like I can literally have Halo and Uncharted on the same platform, like literally in the same library right now. Like, I can buy it on PC. I really feel like this is like stuff like the Steam Deck, and then you have like all the and like that creating a whole, like, I don't think we've really felt the whole, like, I feel like we still haven't felt the effect of the Steam Deck. I feel like the indie like handheld PC space is still a very young thing, and Steam Deck just proved it's viable. So I think we're going to see more innovation in that space, and I think at some point we're probably going to see the rise of a true Steam machine, and by that I mean like a consoleized PC, because that's been Valve's dream forever, is to create a consoleized PC, and if they can actually manage that, oh boy, yeah, that'll be a true revolution right there.
Well, the
You could
original
say it would be a
Xbox
game
was-
changer.
Yeah, well, the original Xbox was essentially a consoleized PC.
Oh, literally.
Yeah.
By the way, I gotta play this.
The game has changed, son of Flynn.
Yeah, in fact, Xbox was originally called Direct Xbox.
Yeah.
DirectX was, basically
It uses an Intel Celeron processor. I think it actually uses the Pentium 2. Like, it literally uses off-the-shelf parts.
In my opinion, that was the beginning of the end of the industry, when they're like, oh, but that's when it was just getting big. And it's like, yes, when you get business people into these situations, they find massive short-term gains, but they at the expense of long-term sustainability. And
I mean, that's just business. That's just business in general. Like the only companies that really last are private companies who are not just chasing the infinite growth glitch. Like Valve. Like Valve is a private company. And Nintendo is not like chasing shareholders. Like it used to be that as long as a company like could survive, like successful meant, oh, I'm making a $2 million profit every year. Like that was a successful company. Nowadays, like, oh yeah, you made $2 million. Can you make $3 million this year? Oh, you didn't? You're a failure. You are a failure of a company. Liquidate everything. Burn to the ground.
It just
a bit hyperbolic, but not too far off the mark.
I the way I see it though is that these indie developers, with all the accessibility that we're seeing now, they're going to be essentially what replaces what we consider game development today. Let's face it, dude, with the things like TikTok destroying the Zoomers, the Gen Zs, their attention spans and stuff. Mm-hmm. The days of these big blockbuster experiences are kind of going away.
Games are suffering the same problem that movies are.
Yep.
You make generic paint by numbers crap, and people aren't interested. It's like, like no one wants to see, like latest modern, like it's like look at AAA games. They all look the same, they all feel the same. It's the same walking simulator thing. And whether it's Tomb Raider, Spider-Man, Uncharted, Last of Us, God of War, they all have that same kind of similar feel to them.
Marginally interactive CG films.
Final Fantasy VII Remake, like sure, there's Horizon Zero Dawn. They all got that kind of similar feel to them, and it's just like, people, and that's why people are more interested in indie games or the Japanese games. Like, look at Elden Ring. Elden Ring, it's not that original. It's basically just like Dark Souls, Elder Scrolls, but like it does it in such a way that like it engages you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. So that's the other thing is a lot of game developers have very little interest in video games now. In fact,
what is the phrase? Behind every game dev is a failed attempt at being a filmmaker.
Exactly. The auteur. And unfortunately,
I'm such a Hideo Kojima.
Well, no, it was very disillusioning when I got in there, and I was like, because I had worked blue collar jobs up until that point, so I'm like, I can't geek out with these guys. These guys are, beer and football. They don't give a shit about like, Hideo Kojima or Metal Gear Solid or any of that stuff. It's just like, I'm like, finally, I feel like the B girl in that Blind Melon video. I'm like, I'm amongst my people now, and it really was disillusioning when I walked in there, and they're like, not only do they have a detest for their audience, they're too cool for their product. They're like, oh, you play video games? It's like, dude, that's what's putting the food on my table.
It's like, dude, we work at Sony Santa Monica. Like I saw, like you were literally touching up the textures on Kratos' chest hairs 5 minutes ago. Shut the F up. Also, Lawrence, hey man, what's up?
Hey. Yeah, and that's going to kill this industry.
It will. Like movies, like, because here's the thing. Like, look at a movie. Like, what happens when a movie comes out that people actually want? It's successful. Like look at the reaction that Deadpool got of just putting him in the suit. Like, sure, that's just your in all fairness, Deadpool is just doing what Multiverse of Madness does, but it kind of comes from a sense of like, oh, you've always wanted Hugh in the suit? Well, fun. You can have Hugh in the suit. It's like they're giving us what we actually want, what they think, not what they think we want.
Yeah. Well, also, like the bubble will burst. Oh, sorry.
Nick, you're gonna say something?
So, I want to kind of bring back to our original point about how like fans are kind of taking back the fandom.
Sunday.
Yeah, basically like going above and beyond to create, recreate what they love about a certain series, but taking it into their own hands because they were unhappy with what Hollywood's doing. So,
in the you see this in the video game space with like the spiritual successors, like look at Stardew Valley, story season games have been good. Sorry.
What I was going to say is actually relating to, of all things, because I'm a huge fucking anime nerd, for anyone who doesn't know, Dragon Ball Z.
Nice.
When I don't remember, like, my first hearing about this fan project was through a Pan Pizza video who was talking about the movie, and I think it was Pan Pizza at least. But it was bringing up that, Dragon Ball Evolution betrayed everything we know about the original Dragon Ball to make it a generic, I don't fit in, I'm such a weirdo kid, high school drama bullshit, when that wasn't Dragon Ball, that was never Goku.
No.
And he was never, like, he loved Chi-Chi, no matter what any of those so-called fans say, he does love Chi-Chi in his own way.
Yeah.
But he was never really interested in getting with her. It was never his goal.
It was like, oh wait, I'm married to you now? Okay.
That's how we got Gohan.
Yeah, but he did genuinely love her in his own Goku way.
Yeah.
But then they were talking about this fan project that, and it was literally just on Google or on YouTube, a couple of fans of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z did a live-action remake of one of the fights from the Android Saga. And it wasn't perfect, obviously, but it looked really damn good. Like, It was a very faithful recreation of the Trunks versus 17 and 18 fight. Nice. Or maybe it was Gohan fight. Either way, it was really well done, and you could tell that there was a lot of passion behind it. Yeah. They made sure that they looked the part. They made sure that they could get the effects just good enough. Like, I won't say that they're perfect, because, you gotta work with what you have, and when you don't have a super high budget, things are gonna happen, but it looked good enough. It got a lot of...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It was, and that's, I think, when you guys were talking about the Obi-Wan thing, that's what it reminded me of, but on a smaller scale.
Have you seen like what some of these like Star Wars fan films, like the Darth Maul one? Like it is amazing what they do.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, I haven't. Blasphemously enough, I'm not much of a Star Wars fan.
Oh dear God.
Well, I think that brings up a good point about how niche hobbies, when they go mainstream, lose the soul of their, what made the hobby appealing in the first place. When I think it was brought up earlier why Wolverine wasn't in the yellow spandex originally was because they were trying to appeal to the normies. They're trying to get the mass appeal market, and by doing so,
that instance, that instance, I can kind of forgive them. But like, yeah. By the way, I got the Darth Maul fan film playing.
Oh yeah, dude, is this the
Oh, that
is this
was
the one
good.
Yeah. Is this the one where he battles with Mace Windu?
No, this is where he's like facing some people. It's like how he becomes the apprentice. But look how good that looks.
Yeah. Can't even tell it's not Ray Park.
Okay. You gave me the perfect segue. Speaking of Ray Park, so remember how Ray, obviously Ray Park is, Darth Maul in Star Wars, and how he was also Toad in X-Men. Sorry, even you gave me the perfect segue to get back on track. Yeah. Like my favorite thing is when he's fighting, I think Jean Grey. He kind of does like a little Darth Maul kind of thing. Let's see here. Toad. But yeah. Like, what did you guys think of the action from the first film?
I loved it. It was over the top, but I loved it.
It certainly grabbed my attention as a kid. I can say that much.
Through the windshield, that was my favorite part.
To the windows, to the walls. But yeah, so yeah, and then we got some other Fox films. The one that I think is maligned, and I hope to God he comes back, is Ghost Rider.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I'm good. I feel like my skull's on fire, but I'm good. Thanks for the water. Have you seen my bike?
I love how upon watching these clips, I realize how much of it he's kind of doing like an Elvis impression for his Ghost Rider.
So can I just say here, really quickly, I actually went ahead and watched the 2 Ghost Rider movies in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, it was with someone I do not any longer consider part of my family due to some immense hurt between us that they caused. So screw them. But I have to say those are, it was a very special memory that we shared between them. And I know the second movie gets a lot of slack for not being very good. I loved it. I thought it was, a little bit more immature than the first one, but I loved it.
From what I thought was the first movie is it's not good, but the second movie pretty much I thought it was almost universally loved. It may not be Spider-Man 2 levels.
Well, I don't know. The circles of the internet that I was on at the time, which weren't very vast because I still had dial-up in an age where we did have high speed because I lived out in the goddamn boonies.
Oh no, Rogers.
Yeah, honest.
No, AOL.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, wow.
Someone wants to use the phone.
AOL.
I mean, day to day. You remember AOL?
Yes.
No.
Welcome. You got screwed.
It took a whole fucking day for Google to load, and if someone wanted to use the phone, you were fucked.
Yeah, we used the discs as coasters.
Question: what did you guys think of the Fantastic Four films?
I like them well enough.
Yeah, me too.
I think the first one is a good movie. I think the first one gets the characters. The second one is a little bit bloated, but it's fine. But the first one has this scene.
What about your leader, Reed Richards? I hear you call him Mr. Fantastic.
Could have been worse, I guess.
Is it true what they say about him that he can expand any part of his anatomy?
Well, I've always found him to be a little limp.
Yes, that was Captain America.
Yeah.
I love that scene because as a kid I thought it was so smart for picking up on the subtlety of stretch any part of his body, girls go wild. I thought I was so smart that I picked up on that, but it's really obvious. Come on.
I think from what I've heard about the movies is that Jessica Alba wasn't supposed to have that big role. She was trying to just pick for eye candy, but she kind of fought for a bit more of giving Susan, the brains and kind of willpower she should have.
Oh yeah, she did a
As
good
the
job with
lead.
that. Did you know,
Uh,
like that scene on the bridge where like she gets caught in her underwear? That was actually added after they cast her. Like once like she was like official, they're like, oh, we have a few pages for you, and it's like, oh, she gets caught in her underwear. Like, that's something that wouldn't fly today. Like that is, yeah.
Like
Was that a Harvey Weinstein production? Sorry.
I would not be surprised.
I know, like, it's kind of a popular thing to hate on super attractive actresses. Like, Megan Fox got a lot of hate for Transformers and the Ninja Turtles movies. Because, well, she was only picked because she was hot. Well, but, like, yeah, I mean, Michael Bay has a very particular audience he was going for. But people were, like, harping on Jessica Alba, too, because, well, she's just super hot. She's got no brains. But no,
I'm
both
sorry.
are women.
Anyone who
Sorry.
thinks Jessica Alba is a bad actress, for frick's sake, go watch Dark Angel. Like, dear God, she's great. Like, that's a show that that'll like get some memories going. But the thing about Megan Fox is she's not as bad as an actress as people say she is. But that doesn't mean she's a good actress. Like,
no,
like,
you give her the right roles.
Yeah, she's one of those actresses. Like Jennifer's Body, I'm actually really glad it's kind of been being reevaluated as kind of like a hidden gem classic because it's got because
it deserves it.
Well, the thing is, Jennifer's Body is a girls' movie. It's a movie that was made for women, and at a time where you didn't really have that. So it's like same thing with Mean Girls. Movies even to this day really don't honestly depict women's issues very well. I mean, Nick, you're free to call bullshit on that.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't think. I mean, I can't speak for every woman, but
yeah,
I can definitely not say that my high school experience in either high school I went to, Catholic or public, was anything like that. How Mean Girls suggested it.
Yes, my high school is not very fetch. I will admit that.
Stop trying to make that a thing.
Exactly.
Can I just take it aside to say I have no idea where those kinds of cliches come from, but I feel like it's all coming from some outdated thing that happened in the 50s where there was all these
here's what I'm
when I was in school.
Basically, what I think it is everyone just watches the same 3 or 4 John Hughes films as a teenager, and that's what they all think high school is like. And I think we kind of still get that to this day. We think high school is just Pretty in Pink or 16 Candles, where even in the 80s, John Hughes' depiction of high school was heavily exaggerated, if not entirely.
Oh yeah.
And also, you got to realize John Hughes comes from a Midwestern perspective. All of this stuff is he's from Chicago, and all of this stuff comes from a Midwestern and in particular Illinois perspective of what high school is like. So
I would never consider Chicago Midwestern. If you actually want to know what high school's really like, you watch Freaks and Geeks because that's pretty damn accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm saying the thing about the Chicago issue is I'm from Iowa, and I can tell you that we watched the John Hughes movies and we're like, what the hell is this? This is it's all exaggerated. I think the only thing that's not exaggerated is you really do get kind of bored during detention, but we never had weekend detention. I don't know where he got that from.
I had weekend detention in middle school a couple times. So I'm from Michigan, so I'm a little bit closer to Chicago. I'm actually pretty close to Detroit, but I'm still kind of from a little bit of the same general area of Chicago, but yeah.
Really? I have never heard of weekend detention. I've never heard of an actual school who would keep you after class because after school you're no longer on their time anymore. You're on your parents' time.
Oh, trust me. I can actually confirm that this was middle school, But like in middle school, there were a couple times where like I had to go in on Saturday, and I had detention for 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, we called them.
So
Saturday
yeah, that
detention.
actually happened to me in middle school, but still.
I can't believe that would be legal.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, we had them here in New England. They call them the Saturdays because normal detentions didn't have any effect. Like the whole point of punishment is deterrent, and kids were like, okay, fine, I don't have to go. I don't have a job. Fine, I'll stick around. And they're like, oh, this isn't punishing them, so they made it a pain in the ass to get to school on a Saturday. Because if you didn't get that, you got suspended. So
I mean, what's suspension going to do, though, really? I mean, everyone who's ever gotten suspended that I know of was like, okay, the day off,
free day off.
Found that me.
Yeah. Well,
None of you had my parents. If you ever got suspended in school or out of school, you were working on the house in some mannerisms, and I can tell you, I've mowed quite the few lawns when I did.
Yes.
Yeah, same here. Yep, same here.
Yeah, the Board of Education applied.
So I've been relatively silent for quite a bit, just observing and listening. I'm not trying to derail the conversation here. I'm going to say that stuff like the Star Wars despecialized editions are things that fans do that make Lucasfilm put to shame. I think a lot of things a lot of independent people, do. They're putting the major league studios to shame because there's really no heart and soul to a lot of things anymore. And in regards to getting back to the Fox movies, I didn't mind the first Fantastic Four movie. I thought the second one was okay. It was a little more action packed because, like with an actual comic, you got to get your groundwork there and then you go on. I think my biggest problem with the but I get it from a realistic standpoint, is you're not going to have that 50-foot towering figure trying to eat stuff. You're going to have something that, it's kind of like Unicron from Transformers, the movie, the only Transformers movie, by the way, from 86, is where it's going to be something bigger and massive, and it's going to envelop you, and it's going to destroy you. It's not going to be some 50-foot tall dude wearing a purple outfit that was a survivor from pre-Big Bang in another universe. The Cloud is stupid, but, and I mean, it could have been done infinitely better. Don't get me wrong, but it brought the idea of like, you need to deal with something massively bigger than what you are, and a 50-foot tall dude ain't gonna impress you.
Like in the director's defense, he did that because he wanted to leave it open to interpretation for future movies, because like they were really wanting to do a Silver Surfer movie. Like basically, that was kind of like a backdoor pilot for a Silver Surfer, which, by the way, I actually wouldn't mind Silver Surfer with Lawrence Fishburne as a voice, but And as far as Fantastic Four movies, I just want to say, I think the main Fantastic Four were really well cast. I think Doctor Doom, like Julian McMahon, actually I think made a really good Doctor Doom.
I think they could have done better on the armor, and I don't think they could have gone all bulky like in the comics. But I mean, what we got with the coat being kind of like a green pea coat with a hood, give me a break. The armor could have been better instead of Doctor Doom having essentially, these are altered humans. They're mutations through alteration.
Mm-hmm.
He should have actually, been able to use his power or whatever, instead of it going through his skin and affecting him. He's like, oh, I've got the ability to, do this, and then made himself a relatively decent suit of armor and look a tad close, because, fantastic, because comic movies, they're bordering between realism and, the mundane and the fanatical. He could have, Julian McMahon wasn't the problem. You should have given him a suit of armor with the actual cloak. It'd have been a little more delicious.
I'm just kind of reading off Daisy Impaler's comment. I'm trying to think back. Like, I actually didn't really attend a normal high school, so like all of my stuff is like middle school and whatnot. What do you guys think? Like, did the jocks and geeks hate each other?
No,
I think.
In fact,
I think
the geeks were the jocks.
I don't remember there being very many jocks at my school or geeks.
No, the nerd. So we had the nerds and the geeks. They were different things. Like the kids that were getting the good grades and the the overachievers, the ones that were always on honor roll. Those were your jocks as well. And as far as the geeks go, they were more of like just losers. Like they weren't like I'm into Magic the Gathering or it was more of the kids that like they had, they were the ones that were like smoking when you're not supposed to, like in school, or like getting kicked out of class for telling the teacher to go F herself, or like that stuff. Like that was what, when I was a kid back in the 80s, that's basically what we considered the geeks. But it's changed because of the things that have become popular now, and we've kind of reclassified what people were and are now. We have the goths, the emos, the the nerds, the
that's why I say, like, people have like this skewed vision of like high school, that it's really just they think high school is still a John Hughes movie, and it hasn't been that way for almost 30 years.
I was John Bender. I was the guy that I was a very, very angry young man. I was a very angry teenager. I was the one putting jocks into. I was the one stuffing jocks in the lockers whenever, because I just couldn't stand. I didn't. To quote Captain America, the First Avenger, I didn't like bullies, and I occasionally got a little bit of the cabbage under the table from the
what up, Master Sergeant
nerds, the geeks and the nerds. Getting picked on, and I shoved jocks in the lockers. I was John Bender to the nth degree, and I didn't care. But I still had a 4.0 grade average because I didn't talk to anybody.
But yeah, so it's really weird how skewed our perception of things are.
Well, it's like the Fox movies. Nothing is ever, you're talking about tunnel vision, basically. Your hindsight's 20/20. The movies aren't as bad as you think they ever were, and they're not as great as you remember, but there's always something there that you still, you go back to them because there's something about them you like. When, talk about Daredevil, I loved Colin Farrell as Bullseye just because he was massively insane.
Yes!
He didn't look like the comic book character, and that's fine, but he was freaking massively insane.
I want a bloody costume.
Character. He had too much fun. And then you had him bouncing off Michael Clark Duncan as the Kingpin, who was like,
yeah, we need to talk about that.
Oh yeah,
we need to talk about Michael.
You can tell both of them were enjoying their roles.
So they really did.
So like, obviously, we're still having this discussion about like race bending characters, or like,
oh god, yeah,
because like, but I'm the one who I always bring up Michael Clark Duncan, Kingpin. I hold him up as like my example of like, right actor, right role, because Michael Clark Duncan is the Kingpin. Like, he embodied it in everything but skin color.
Well, dude, like, so speaking, I got a personal stake in this one. Okay, Kingpin was actually designed off of my ancestor, Diamond Jim Fisk. Okay, and
Wait,
yeah, if you look at if you do a wiki check on was it Jubilee or Diamond Jim Fisk? He was a big fat piece of crap that ran New York. He was one of the robber barons. And yeah, that's where kind of the genesis of the Wilson Fisk character came from. And I'm not black. Although then again, being, part Korean and part Jew, that's kind of a hard thing to sell when you're saying I don't want race bending. But at the same time, that character, the fact that he was this big, fat, bald guy that was actually jacked, that was kind of part of his archetype. Like, I love Michael Clark Duncan. Like, dude, like, seriously, like, the Green Mile, good God,
I'm tired, boss.
Yeah, like, amazing. But at the same time, it's like, at what point do we say it's no longer, like, just make a new character, man? Like, There were elements that I think that even though Michael Clark Duncan played the role well, there were still things missing. And yes, it was a racial thing. It was this, there comes with it. And I hate to get into the political stuff, but like, dude, you're a different kind of Kingpin when you're a black dude versus a Kingpin who's a spoiled robber baron white guy. If that makes any sense.
I mean, literally, there's a line where in Daredevil where it says, "I was raised in the Bronx, Wesley. This is something you wouldn't understand." Like,
yeah,
I think that ties. Like, I think that line kind of ties into what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a different kind of like you know what I mean, like gangsta versus gangster. Like
like the Kingpin of Daredevil was like someone who came up through the streets. Like, he was raised, like, came up through the streets, like, and made his way to the top.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, versus the guy who was a scumbag who, you know, had rich, like spoiled, you know, basically the difference between the mafia and your LA Compton gangs. You know what I mean? They're equally scary, but at the same
basically
time,
the difference between Vito Corleone and your average like gangbanger.
yeah, like, and again,
no. Vito Corleone and Carl Johnson.
Yeah. There like having
shit. Here we go again.
Yeah, I don't know. That's my take on it. And the only reason why I'm, you know, got any kind of, you know, issue with it is the fact that, you know, we did research after, you know, because like, you know, I remember when Spider-Man was big back when I was a kid, and they're like, hey, look, Chris is the Kingpin. So yeah,
I mean that's definitely a claim to fame right there. That's like a funny factoid kind of thing from your family. Like if you ever go on Jeopardy, it's like, oh, the character the Kingpin was based off a relative of yours, like that kind of trivia.
Yeah, and I'm not proud of it. The guy was a bastard, but like he ended up getting, I think, shot dead in the middle of the street because he was cheating on his wife with this gross actress chick that, like, at the time the beauty standards were quite different, and it's like, dude, you lost your life for that? You are a dumbass. Yeah.
Well, you know what they say about us guys? We have two heads, but only enough blood to run one at a time.
Speak for yourself. I've been married 25 years to the same woman.
Awesome,
well,
dude. Congrats.
Well, here's the thing. Both of your heads are in agreement that, like, that's the woman that they want. So be lucky.
That's a keeper.
Okay, so bouncing off the Kingpin stuff, you got to remember back then when Michael Clark Duncan was the Kingpin, nobody cared because it wasn't being forced upon it. And you also got to remember, I can't remember who said it, but somebody had once said that something about how you do comics is every comic is somebody's first comic. And you got to remember, this is somebody's first introduction to what could have been their introduction to Daredevil. And that's why, you know, Michael Clark Duncan had so much, he was so good for it. And that's why Colin Farrell had too much fun with it, because, you know, everybody else, except I would say Joey Pantoliano was perfect Ben Urich, but I think everybody else just a smidge over the top. But we didn't have a problem with Michael Clark Duncan being a black Kingpin because it wasn't being forced upon us, and most of us knew him from something else. And it was like, that's the right guy.
Well,
now, today, the problem is actually quite reversed.
Well, it puts butts in seats, too. It's like, look at all the Will Smith movies. Those were race-bent movies, but the name Will Smith put butts in seats. You know, you had, what was it, iRobot? I can't remember, Del Spooner. That was a white guy in the short story. Hell, even Wild Wild West. Yeah.
Men in Black, the comics.
Deadshot was white.
Yeah.
But it's Will Smith.
Yeah, it's Will Smith. He's like the single most charismatic actor on the planet. Even if the movie's bad, people are gonna go want to see him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
as long as it's not after.
Maybe not nowadays after what's happened. You know.
You keep my last name out your mouth.
Oh, you beat me to it. I guess you could say Will Smith had the fame slapped out of him. But let's be honest, Will Smith, like while that slap was kind of the culmination of his downfall, he was already like really going down. Like he was like him getting cucked so badly by Jada.
I know.
Like
I feel bad for him.
Like as soon as like oh, I'm cheating on you, and like he saw his face and he still kept with her, you know, like as people
and
already.
Then she goes on that stupid fucking talk show, and she's like, "No, we're just in an open marriage." Blah 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 blah. Like,
and you see his face. You literally see his face on that.
Yeah.
Like
there's no soul behind those eyes anymore.
Like literally all he had to do would be like, I'm divorcing her. I don't hate her, but you know, blah blah blah. Like, just be respectful. People would still like, they respect that. Like, they might want to go for it. Like, but the fact, like, all he had to do is be respectful, you know, kind of thing, and people wouldn't blame him for divorcing her, and I'm sure he'd be respectful about it. You know, one thing, like not say a bad word about her, but even then, most people would respect that. Be like, okay, he's being a gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
And again,
But,
it's Will fucking Smith. People would have taken his side anyways.
Yeah.
And it's like he's not bad in Suicide Squad. Like obviously, you know, like just from a pure like if you just pretend he's not Deadshot, Deadpool, whatever.
Deadshot.
But he's just like Deadshot. He's actually doing a good job with what he's playing, I think.
Well, the thing that Will Smith is so good in Suicide Squad is the motivation is correct. Just like the comics, just like most every interpretation of Floyd Lawton, it's about his kid. It's about reconnecting with his daughter and making a positive influence and not letting her not necessarily. She knows that he's a dick, but it's more the fact of like, look, I can change, I can improve, I can be a better father, and that's why he succeeds in that. As that version of Deadshot.
Also, Dave the Impaler is like 100% spot on. Basically, once like people, I think, like once he divorces and starts talking about like how wrong he was, people will forgive him because he's Will Smith and they want to forgive him. And we all know Jada is really a big POS. So
I don't want to forgive
either
one of them because it's not my problem.
Yeah. It's public dirty laundry. I don't need to know about why somebody's cheating on so and so. Like, I just think that they're airing it all and they're getting drama clicks. You know what I mean? Like, they're not getting jobs, so it's like
it's their time. It's like everything that happens. You do your. It's like Generation Nexus time is passing. You know, we're the elder statesmen now, and then they say stuff's not made for us. That's fine. We don't buy it. And then you complain. We don't. You know, that's the drama. That's exactly what's going on. Their time is passing. Everybody else's time's coming up behind them, and they just like, well, hey, you know, look at me, blah blah blah. It's like, look, we don't have to anymore.
Well, the problem is like for the past, I'd say 20 years, we've been obsessed with the 80s, and like they've been trying to make 90s nostalgia thing, but like, it's like they kind of just skip past the 90s, and they're kind of even skipping past the 2000s, because like we're in an era where we should be getting like 2000s era revivals. You know, like Teen Titans, its 20th anniversary is this year. You know, the classic cartoon. Why are we not like? I think that's probably
the only cartoon.
Well, remember that 70s show? When that movie or when that series started, the 70s was farther away than, or I should say, like, if we were to make that 70s show today, it would take place in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the funny thing is, they're doing that 90s show, and it's actually not bad. Like, I actually watched it.
It's freaking hilarious.
Nice.
It is good.
Yeah, I actually think I think they did like the perfect, like they had the characters show up, you know, some more than others, but it wasn't really about the returning characters. Like, sure, they showed up.
Yeah,
but it was about and I think they picked a really good casting. They're kind of carbon copies of some of them, but like new enough that like it's still fresh.
The only staples that they needed to have were Red and Kitty, and they're more relegated to the same roles they always been, kind of like mid to background characters, and they've always focused it on the kids. But what the thing is about that 90s show is Eric and Donna now being the parents. If you're a parent or you're of a certain age, like I totally get that.
Yep.
Because you know, with me, it's like I've always gotten what Red was about. And then when Eric gets what Red's about, it's like, now you're catching up. Now you understand why it is. Now you
and it's like they let the characters age, where it's like Red is a lot like calmer than he was before, and like while Eric is kind of acting the same way, he's like there's still a little bit like little aging of his character, but like Red and Kitty, like I think they handled like their aging perfectly.
Yeah, Eric and Donna are. Eric and Donna will never be Red and Kitty, and that's fine. They're Eric and Donna, but they're the adults, Eric and Donna. And any parent, and I can tell you as a parent, I have the same attitudes and euphemisms and behavioral traits that my parents had with my kids. And then I realized, oh my God, now I know what my mom was talking about.
I'm sorry, but
I hope you have a kid exactly like you.
And yeah, that's pretty much what it was.
The scene where Eric said,
when Red would always say, put my foot up your ass. You know, we always like, oh, he's over exaggerating. And then when Eric says, it's like, oh my God, I get, you know, I'm there.
What have I done?
And then Red's like, I have never been more prouder in my whole life. It's like when you were catching your first touchdown had you ever played football, and then you still get that little redness in there. But it's and the characters on that show, they're not exactly carbon copies of what that 70 show's characters were, and that's good.
Yeah. Nix, what do you guys think of the 90 show reboot?
I don't know. I never really watched it. I never really quite got into that 70s show. Like, I'd watch it once in a while if it was on and there was nothing else on. But I've always been more like firmly an animation sort, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. So, like, kind of getting back on track to the Fox stuff, they're kind of like in the mid 2000s here. So yeah, and we kind of like the X-Men kind of ends, the X-Men 3, which is not the best. It has some good moments, but overall, it's like I want to talk about
X3 had a better Angel than X-Men Apocalypses, and I don't know where they went with that one or why.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
For all,
definitely.
For all the flaws that X-Men X3 has, Angel actually has an arc.
Dee Dee, I was trying to speak, so please don't interrupt me. Yeah, like X-Men 3's, at least he was a character and had an actual character arc. Apocalypse, he was basically just a background character.
Yeah. Well, what was that? Oscar Isaacs?
Mm-hmm.
I can't. Oscar Isaacs was Apocalypse.
Yeah, he kind of looked like the villain from the Power Rangers movie.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well,
it's true.
It kind of cheapened the story too, because like a little weird factoid, but like Olivia Munn was like freaking thrilled to play Psylocke, and they completely underutilized that character to the point where it was like, yeah, I'm not really into acting that much. Thanks.
Well, at least they gave her 100% comic accurate costume. I'll give them props for that.
Yeah, it sucks that like you finally got somebody it's kind of like the Henry Cavill effect, where you've got somebody that's like, I collected this as a kid. I love this character. Let's do this. And they're like, no, sorry, you're difficult to work with. We're gonna do something else.
Also, I love going to The Witcher. I love how it's like, oh, he's difficult to work with. And they're like, oh no, he's a treasure. Like now that they actually got to promote the show, suddenly they like him again. It's just stupid.
Like the mean girls, like not high school.
But yeah, like X3, it's like it has its good moments, but like it was kind of the problem with X3 is it was very clear they wanted the Phoenix Saga, especially the way X2 ended. But the problem is Warner Brothers lured Bryan Singer over to do Superman Returns. And so not only did they get Bryan Singer, they also had James Marsden come along with them. That's why James Marsden had such a reduced role in X-Men 3. I actually heard this thing where it's like Bryan Singer wanted Sigourney Weaver to play Emma Frost in X-Men 3.
Yeah.
Huh?
No,
I don't know. I think she could have, like, acting wise, I think she could have done it. Now remember, this is 2005 Sigourney Weaver. So you got a more of a MILF version of Emma Frost, but I think it could have worked.
Who would be your dream cast then for the characters that did disappoint you in like the X-Men movies from Fox?
Okay, so the thing we got to know is if we're casting, we got to be casting in a certain era. So like if you're saying we're redoing X3 and like we're recasting it, then we've got to have like a mid 2000s mindset of like which characters, which actors were big, which ones, whatever, what I'm saying. Like obviously we can't hire Finn Wolfhard for X-Men 3 because he was like a little child. Yeah. we can't hire. I was just gonna name like another Stranger Things actor, but you get the idea. So yeah. So I guess we're doing like basically Phoenix Saga, Bryan Singer directing, Simon Kinberg is not writing. So like I guess the Hellfire Club. Who would you have play Emma Frost in this X-Men 3?
Honestly,
feel free to interject if you want.
Honestly, I would say if I were to have anybody play Emma Frost, I would want Angelina Jolie, fresh off the first Lara Croft movie.
Oh yeah,
I can see that.
That would work.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Post Hackers.
Yeah, Brett Ratner did not do the movie good.
Nope.
What's funny is like the whole like bridge sequence. That was actually a mid movie action scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I think because of also hi Ed, how you doing? Like the problem with that is their contracts last until I believe like 2024. After that, like that's why we haven't gotten like a true X-Men movie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so yeah, we'll probably see something like that. But yeah, so yeah, let's see who are some other like big characters you'd have in that movie. Trying to think.
I think Kelsey Grammer as Hank McCoy was perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't think of a better person.
I think Nicholas Hoult did a good job for younger Beast.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like older Beast, okay. Kate Blanchett could pull it off in 2005.
Ooh,
I can see that. I mean, honestly, like Kate Blanchett probably could like did you see her in Ragnarok? Like she could probably still do. She could still do Emma Frost.
Yeah.
Well, damn right.
Like I'm sorry, but Kate Blanchett looked amazing in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, that was such a disservice in the Rings of Power movie. Or series.
Dear God!
You go from Kate Blanchett to that.
Yeah. It went from like ethereal.
Yeah, Grace and Beauty.
It's Grace and Beauty to generic action girl.
Yeah, who always looked like she smelled a horrible fart. Like she was always had her nose scrunched, and she'd even do the little rabbit jiggle with her nose. Where she's like telling you how badass she is. It's like,
yeah, it's like there's that one scene where she's flying on the eagle and she's smiling and she's even not doing a good not even doing a good job at that. It's like,
yeah,
like okay, the reason why they say for a lot of these actors, could you smile more, is because people look good while they're smiling.
Well, they look less intimidating. Like you're trying to identify, the audience is trying to identify with you. And if you're miserable and bitchy, and this goes for guys too, like if you're just like angry or whatever, and you have no justification behind it, then how are we supposed to, as an audience, identify or get behind the character?
Like, I'm going to be honest with you.
Amen.
Like I watched Captain Marvel once because I had a gun pointed in my head. There's a few instances where that shot where like she sees Stan Lee and she smiles. That's actually a really sweet smile. I gotta be honest with you.
Mm.
It's just like I don't know. I feel like Brie Larson, like, she actually wasn't too bad in Fast X. I feel like she when she actually tries, she's a halfway decent actress.
I think my favorite role of Brie Larson's has to be Envy from Scott Pilgrim, actually.
I knew it.
Like,
oh,
she doesn't get a huge role or anything. It's really kind of a small part, but like what she's given, she gels really well with the rest of the snarky, hipsterish cast.
Oh, remember when they
announced going for?
Remember when when they announced that they're doing an animated Scott Pilgrim series on Netflix and like the entire movie cast was coming back?
I didn't hear about that, but that's actually really great. I hope it looks like the comic books.
Mm.
Yeah.
The comics had a really kind of unique style to it.
Also, a little bit of a rap break for you guys. Yeah, we always gotta have a rap break so that Courage can say hi.
I think
He's like, what's going on?
Going on a little tangent for about Scott Pilgrim. Did you guys know that in the original comics they depict this scene where a historical Canadian building like breaks down and like crumbles? It actually did, get destroyed like a couple of years after that.
Yeah, wasn't it
Hmm,
like an
huh.
iconic grocery store where they had like this like whole sequence in, and it got demolished
Something like that,
a
yeah.
few years ago?
I don't think I ever actually got a chance to visit it. But
See, yeah,
because they're in
you live
Toronto, but like,
you live in Canuck land. You can actually do that.
yeah.
Hey,
I don't think I ever got to see the historical building, but I thought that was kind of cool little
Nix,
thing.
if you ever go to the Vancouver area, please visit the Kent Farm from Smallville. Please, for the love of God, I want to see that. Like
if I ever manage to get out there, yeah.
Because like I like if I'm ever in Canada, yeah, I'm going to that farm.
Yeah. Well, I just want to add something about Brie Larson. I'm not defending her. I'm not standing up for her, but like, I think a lot of the negative stuff that we see with her is because of the industry. I don't think we're ever going to see the real Brie Larson. In fact, Brie Larson actually started off as during the Britney/Christina Aguilera era. She was actually a pop singer. And
damn.
Oh, so she pulled the Jessica
That
Simpson.
I did not know.
She pulled the Jessica Simpson, but was actually successful at it.
Yeah, the problem though is a lot of people who've never seen the industry don't understand how awful the people in it are. Like, you don't have friends. Nobody, your coworkers, like the very few friends that you actually make in there are, few and far between. They're the diamonds in the coal mine. But unfortunately, the amount of passive aggressiveness and the amount of subterfuge that goes on in that industry, it looks like it took its toll on her, meaning that I think a lot of the faux pas that she's made aren't a direct result of her being malicious so much as we kind of didn't see what happened before the cameras went on, or the fact that she was being goaded into saying things. Because if you don't toe the party's line, you will lose your job. You will not.
Yeah, like you see that with a lot of people in any industry, whether it's comics, Hollywood. They just say what they think everyone wants. Like when an actor when actor says like, oh, we need equality, we need to support current thing. They're not saying that to you. They're saying that to their colleagues. So like, yeah, hey, I'm cool, guys, please.
Yeah. Well, like just to add to that, there's you guys ever watch The Boys on
Yes.
Hulu? So
yes.
You know Starlight, the actress there.
Oh, that
something Moriarty there. Yeah.
Wait,
so
the act. Oh, we're talking about the story itself or the actors on the show?
The actress herself. She was an absolutely gorgeous woman. I'm sorry. Like, I think she's absolutely gorgeous. She's definitely in my dime club.
Yeah.
But she went and got a whole bunch of plastic surgery that was completely unnecessary.
Oh, that I didn't know.
Yeah, and you'll see it in the later seasons, and I think when the next season comes out. And I think a lot of it was because she had agents, she had directors, she had all these people around her, pressuring her into getting like the boob job and getting the collagen lip implant and like all this stuff that was completely unnecessary. But it's designed to erode the self-esteem. Like it's really predatory for women. And I'm not simping for ladies here because I hate feminism, but like they really do target women in acting really like. I mean, worse
look
than
at
men.
You're absolutely right.
You saw the same thing happen. The actress who played Chloe Decker on Lucifer, like the main love interest. You look at the early seasons, she is beautiful. But like around season 4-ish, she gets a lot of work done, and she doesn't look as good as anymore.
Well, just to add though, so after the plastic surgery and stuff, suddenly she starts coming out about feminism and about how men are bad and all this stuff. And it's like, I think those two are very intrinsically linked. I think that she's in an industry full of sharks, and she's being told, do this or for your career, get the fake boob job, get the facelift, get the Botox, get this. And it's eroding her self-esteem to the point where she goes along with this because in her opinion, she's convinced herself that men are bad because she's being told by these male directors and casting agents and stuff that they're not going to hire her because of this. And it's like, that's not men. That's Hollywood. Like,
yeah, because like the whole male feminist angle is, oh, men are terrible. Men are terrible. Please sleep with me.
Yeah.
So, something I've actually touched on.
I call it the Joss Whedon routine.
Well, real Edmonton. I'll just onto it. Yeah. Sorry.
No, sorry. I was gonna say though, this is something I have touched on, at least on Twitter, kind of infrequently. You know, because I feel like you talk about this kind of stuff too much, you get too political, people get sick of it. But I really, not just for women, but for men, Hollywood is just terrible for self-esteem. But particularly for women in particular, because when you said this, you were absolutely spot on, Chris. But honestly, plastic surgery, that whole thing, like especially if it's done for cosmetics, if it's not done for any kind of health reason or anything, plastic surgery is absolutely, it's a scam that preys on women's insecurities. Because and I don't want to give feminists any credit, but a lot of feminists are very right in this, even if a lot of guys don't want to admit it. Our self-esteem is targeted kind of way more than a guy's.
Well, I think the problem is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nix, but like with women, a lot of their socialization comes from like women are more seek external validation, while men are more like seek internal validation.
Well, it's also a power dynamic here. I mean, and I know this is going to piss a lot of people off, but women cannot physically overpower men. I mean, sure, you can get the rare exception. But so that means that the way that men and women
give the woman a gun. Give the woman a gun.
Yeah. The Sam Colt made him equal. But like, if you were to look at the way the power dynamics work, though, women and men view power differently. Men view power as dominance. I need to dominate others. I need to assert myself at the top of something. I need to prove my value. They talk about women being sexually objectified. Well, men are turned into appliances. It's like the first time you ever meet someone new and you're a guy, the first thing they ask you is, what do you do for a job? Because they're assessing your value.
And it's like sorry.
And with women, because they can't physically dominate the same way that men can, it's more of a temporal influence, meaning that my social network, how many people can I influence? How many people see me as a great person? How many people are willing to help me out when things go bad? Okay. So as a result, the power that they have a fantasy of is getting that adulation, is getting the crowd to love them. And unfortunately,
and a big part of that,
is aesthetics.
Sorry.
It's your beauty. Yeah. Sorry, just to add to what you're saying. Yeah,
and the thing is, we're kind of running this problem when it comes to therapy, because I've actually been researching this issue. Whereas the problem with men in therapy is all but geared towards women, and you need to approach therapy differently with men versus women. With when women in therapy, it's more just like you're awesome. With a man, you give him a shovel and say, hey, dig this hole. I mean, I obviously it's more than that.
Yeah.
But men, there's only so much. Like telling a guy he's awesome, he's cool, that helps, but it doesn't solve an issue. What the real way to permanently solve is give him a purpose, give him a reason to exist.
A reason. Well,
that's why I said give him a shovel and tell him to dig him a hole. Like that. That's why I said that.
Yeah, when I was in developmental psychology, is what I wasted my college years doing. But we learned that if you wanted to have male children open up or to have conversations, you don't sit them down on a chair and have them talk to you. You engage in an activity. Men are doers; they're not talkers. That's why there's that men are from Mars, women are from Venus thing. Get a dude to do something. And the moment he's engaged in that, then you can have conversations. Hey, let's build this model car. Let's fix this birdhouse.
Why? You know? I mean, the whole like men going fishing and talking about their feelings.
Yep.
That's a trope for a reason. Like that. Yep. Like there's a reason why like men going fishing and working out their problems. There's a reason why like that is a stereotype, because it's true.
Exactly. But to add on to my original point, and this is something you see a lot of with celebrities. Like you'll see these good-looking celebrity dudes, and they've got this woman who's around the same age, and they get a lot of heckling from idiots in like comment sections on Twitter, let's say. Like, oh, what's he doing with that old hag? Blah 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 blah. And it's mostly from guys. Like, yeah, there's the odd girl that I'll see, but for the most part, the women are supportive and are even fighting back. Like, they're the same age, but like, she's a normal chick running a normal job. He's a celebrity with a makeup team.
Yeah, and a dietitian.
And like,
and
I mean, the
and
thing
a
that I've
dietitian,
seen,
that sort of thing.
Nick's, like I've seen kind of something different where it's like a lot of the problems that women have come from other women. You know, like the whole.
Oh yeah,
like,
that's definitely true too.
Like for example, the whole shoe thing. Like, why does a woman spend $2,000 on a Jimmy Choo shoe when a guy doesn't even give a crap? And they say it's for other women. It's for other women. You know, like honestly, most guys, if you wore like next to no makeup, the guy would probably find you just as beautiful. You know, like a lot of like, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. Like if I'm wrong,
it's marketing that lies to you.
Women are peacocks.
So this is something, and this is something I've personally dealt with as a woman, either like vicariously through someone else or in my own ways. But older women, for the most part, tend to pick on younger women that they view as more attractive than them, more successful than them.
It's jealousy.
And it is absolutely jealousy. But there's also, society at large is a lot to blame because there's this, and especially now you see it with Twitter with this whole, oh, she hit the wall, she's 30. And shout out to Moondragon, actually, because she was facing something like this, kind of. Not as bad, but she kind of got a little insecure because she's in her 30s. And a couple people kind of started begging her about it.
I would like to speak on the wall aspect as a guy who used to kind of hang around a lot of MRA circles a little bit. Basically, it's just kind of a thing where it's like, socially, this is kind of like the way I understand it is socially, women are at their peak from like 18 to like 32 or whatever, whereas men. And this is kind of the line that's shared. It's because like you see a lot of like boys in their 20s where it's like these girls keep passing them up. There's a lot of like kind of politics in this and like, but like at women's it looks do great while men kind of just are kind of keep going, and it's like it's kind of like a power imbalance where it's like, oh, women had their time. Oh, now I'm a guy in my 30s. I'm making money. I look great. It's my time. Look at these women hitting the wall. Like, oh, look at this woman who rode the carousel, monkey branch all throughout her 20s, ignored me, and now that I'm successful, now she wants a piece of me. F that. I'm just speaking from a mentality.
Yeah,
but
I find it all to be kind of disgusting though, because I see it erode women's self-confidence when they're still very beautiful women. I think if society at large could just stop focusing so much on what each other looks like.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I know. But like I see it a lot more women, and especially myself. And I know this isn't something I really talk about very often, but I have body dysmorphia. Like I legit, and a lot of the people who I see talking about how they look in the mirror and they hate themselves each and every time, it's typically women. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that guys don't go through this because I'm not stupid. I know men aren't fucking aliens who just never experience any kind of self-doubt or body image issues, but I see a lot more of it happening to women and young girls who they don't have much confidence because everything around them is telling them that they need to look a certain way or they won't be considered desirable.
Well, it goes back to the power dynamics.
And the thing is, like I'm not saying it doesn't happen, that like what you said doesn't happen, but like the same thing happens to men, but in a different way. As guys, we're told, oh, you need to be at least 6 foot in order to date a woman. Like the whole like, oh, women only go after like the top 10% of men. Blah blah blah. I'm quoting like lines or whatever. But there's some, like as a guy, there's a pressure to be like, oh, you got to be physically fit, you got to be earning lots of money, you got to, it's like, it feels like guys have to put in so much more work to be attractive to women whereas, and I'm not saying women don't have to put in a lot of work but from a guy's perspective, it feels like we have to, just from a relatively speaking, we have to put in so much more work and even to even be able to get noticed.
Well,
but I feel like.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, you were going.
I was gonna say though, I feel like this is something that's kind of popped up a little bit more in the modern age, because like all my life, all my childhood, I have seen people who, anyone from Hollywood would consider bottom of the barrel, ugly, fat, disgusting people, and they're happy to go. There's no like, I don't know. I mean, when you really like, I think we're all just a little too hung up.
Personality matching is really the linchpin for a healthy relationship.
Exactly.
Like that's why. It's like it's like the whole like there's a girl that you want to sleep with for the night, and then there's a girl that you take home to mother, and like that's why that's why it's like the appeal of like the girl next door is usually more appealing for relationships than like the supermodel. Like, yeah, you'd love to sleep with the supermodel, but like you want to marry the girl next door kind of thing. And I think that it kind of speaks to priorities, where it's like, sure, we find certain things attractive, but I think what the girl next door represents, not necessarily her physical attractiveness, it's more just like approachableness, relatability. Like the model is in a whole different world than you, whereas the girl next door is literally the girl next door.
I think a lot of people, men and women, are trying to, and I hate using this phrase more than anything, punch above their weight, because they keep wanting to go after like supermodel celebrity levels of attractiveness, but then they won't, and then they complain because, oh, nobody's giving me a chance. But like, people are willing to give you a chance if you're not a complete asshole. Just
have
you ever seen
yourself.
the 80-20 rule? The 80-20 rule? Have you ever heard of that?
What is it, like 80% of women go for 20% of men?
80% of the women go for the top 20% of men, and the rest, the bottom 80% of men are completely invalid. This was data they collected on various dating sites, and there's a few psychology sites that have actually grabbed this. And what it is it comes that's why male suicide is so high as well.
Women tend to date up, men tend to date down.
Well, yeah, like women. A guy like there's two power dynamics there. Again, there's the fiscal value or the financial value or the resource value, and then there's the aesthetic value, the beauty value, and the childbearing years value as well. And those are, believe it or not, the beauty and the childbearing values are one and the same, because subconsciously, what makes women attractive is those subconscious cues. Like why do guys find X, Y, or Z attractive about women? And
like, for example, why do men find big boobs attractive? It's because big, birthing, or like why do guys have this obsession with thick thighs? Because childbearing hips.
But like, where was I going with this? When they started looking at these two kind of these clashes in the paradigm, so to speak, and they found that the reason why men are starting, like, you see a lot of resentful men. You know how we have the angry feminist who hates all men and all that stuff, the daddy issues?
Like the stereotypical incel kind of thing.
Yeah, you get these guys that are like it's like beyond misogyny. Like misogyny, by the way, is overused, because all that means is the distrust of women. It doesn't mean the hatred of women. doesn't mean the sexual objectification. In fact, that's almost antithetical to misogyny. Misogyny is literally women are evil thieves, and I want nothing to do with them. That's basically misogyny, but it got redefined because it's a cool buzzword. Well, it's a cool buzzword to toss at people. But unfortunately,
and like all the other words, it is horribly overused.
Yeah, exactly. And we're looking at scenarios now where we feminized all of our men. Like, I'm sorry, but the Zoomers, I highly doubt. There might be a small pockets of Generation Z boys that have triple-digit testosterone counts, but the majority of them are being raised by women who don't know what it's like to be a man. So they're raising girls essentially, and they're
the boys being raised by women, that's been happening since like the Gen X days. Like, let's not pretend this is some new thing.
No, it isn't. But if you were to look at the proportions of broken homes, that's what they're called when I was a kid. Broken homes or single mother families versus back in the 70s and 80s when I was a kid versus what we're seeing today. You'll notice that level has spiked. And where has it spiked the most? Inner city Black families. And that's where we get the violent gangs. That's where because we're looking at generations of, how they talk about toxic masculinity.
Here's the thing about young boys that like a lot of like some women get this, and for the mothers who get this, God bless you, is men need a positive male influence in their life. Not a mother cannot be both father and mother.
Yeah,
but in particular boys. Yeah. In particular boys. And there are mothers who get this and they bring a positive male influence, whether it's an uncle or a friend. And the mothers who do that, God bless you, you're amazing. Young boys in particular. I'm not saying women don't need this, but men need this so badly. And I think this is a really big problem going back generationally and if these young boys do not get that positive male influence, they will seek it out somewhere. I mean, that's what I did. My dad's kind of a piece of crap. So, lucky I found some good positive male influences. But these young boys, inner city, they'll find like that's why gangs have gangs, because like it's like they're accepted for who they are. They get to be a man. They get to shoot guns. They get to conquer territory. Well,
they get to look cool in front of their friends.
Exactly, and that's why a lot of this stuff is very attractive to young men. Like you have all these like it's a typical thing. It's like it's the reason why people get into cults, where it's like if you have a bad life, and then someone I gotta Andrew Tate, perfect example, perfect freaking example right there. I
hate him.
Rightly so, but I'll get into something, but like. It's like you have people who have a crappy life, and then someone comes along and be like, hey, that crappy stuff? That ain't your fault. That's their fault. Those people over there? That's your fault. Yeah. You want to go beat them up? Hey, let's do it together. I'm with you, buddy. Hey, here's $5. You get yourself a soda. Come back. We'll beat those people up. It is literally a tale as old as time. This is something that happens over and over and over throughout history.
There's this one scenario that I saw. It was I think it was an experiment or something. I know there was a news article about it. They did an expose where there was this one inner city school that was constantly getting fights and violence. It was like a zoo, just full of animals violently.
Chris, before you go any further, there's a new challenger has arrived.
There's like another.
Hey, buddy.
Hey. Sorry.
Welcome.
Sorry I'm late, guys. Golf went long.
Yep. 2 hours late, but still better late than never.
I kicked ass. I did
nice.
very well today.
All right.
How many birdies?
Chris and Tyler's here. Oh, I got a birdie.
Nice.
My first birdie, as a matter of fact. It was amazing.
Nice.
Yes, thank you. Awesome, I am amazing. Man. Thank you, Tyler.
Yep. So Jared, just kind of give you a quick rundown. We're kind of talking about like gender dynamics here. Chris was kind of in the middle of saying something, but you're welcome to contribute. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So I believe I was talking about the expose that they aired on the news about this inner city school. It was constantly violent. Like there were fights all the time. It was just like a zoo full of like feral animals constantly. And they brought in a security guard or whatever, like a law enforcement officer to be resident in the school, and it didn't have any effect. There were still constant fights or whatever. So what happened? a bunch of dads, a bunch of guys that have no criminal justice degrees, no martial arts degrees, nothing. Just a bunch of dads got together and hung out in the hallways to keep the peace, and the crime or the violence almost zero. Like it went down to like single digits percentage wise.
That's
and
some real dad energy right there. That is like the power of dad.
Power of a good father figure.
Yeah, and like these guys would just talk like, "What are you doing, boy? Like, come on, man, this is stupid. What are you doing?" You know, and they're like, "Hey, you need some help with that? Yo, straighten up your shirt, man. You look like
it kind of reminds me of I remember like they were talking like back in like the old style of teaching when kids were roughhousing, the teacher would say, "That's enough." He wouldn't say "stop it." He would say "That's enough," because that word choice is very important. Because he's not invalidating what they're doing. He's saying he's placing a limit. He's saying, "All right, guys, that's enough." Like so he's not like invalidating their feelings. He's not invalidating their actions. He just like he's putting limits, and that's a healthier way of communicating than just saying "stop it, knock it off." Because you're kind of telling people that like what they're doing is whatever. But it's better to place limits than to just kind of dissuade with behavior entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, don't run in the halls. You want to run outside, go ahead. But don't run in the halls. Like, kids can understand that. Kids can understand, like, hey, he's not telling me not to run. He's just saying don't run in the hallways. Like that's why gym is so important to school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and
definitely.
also one of the other things that I always say is really important, particularly for young boys in school, and this is why that example that Chris brought up actually resonates, is because I've always said that the way you decrease violence is you put in positive male role models.
Yeah.
Show these guys what a man is supposed to be. You won't have these problems that you see.
You just need to have like a big buff Asian dude come to school and start singing, "I'll make a man out of you."
Wow, Nick.
I'm sorry. It was too perfect. I couldn't help it.
Well, yeah, you are the pun master. So there you go.
I'm something all right.
Oh yeah, you're full of something. You're full of something.
And it's like kind of like I kind of want to use it as a segue. Like one of my favorite scenes from X-Men Days of Future Past is the one where Charles is talking to like his future self. I just love that.
Yes.
Right.
When he gives him the "just because someone's lost" speech.
Oh, Jared.
You still believe just because someone stumbles, loses their way, it doesn't mean they're lost forever.
Yeah. You literally read my mind.
Dude, because here's the thing. That scene is one of the most like scenes that gets me emotional in that entire movie, because when you think about it, that works for a lot of different reasons. First and foremost, it's older Charles communicating to a younger Charles, and that's effective. But you also have, for the most part, here's younger Charles, older, telling his younger self, things will get better. Look at me.
Yeah, and it's like
the way I saw
like we talk about like the ultimate like male fantasies. Like one movie that I think like there's kind of like this one moment where like every guy is like yes.
Don't hit my friends.
Yeah.
I was just watching that movie today.
It's like the thing that I always say. It's like men want to be kings, women want to be princesses, and I always like think like if you kind of look at like that thing where it's like it says a lot about like the kind of things like and also if you look at like the stories that are like aimed at men versus women. With men, it's about the climb. It's about the pursuit of power. It's about like becoming like the biggest drug kingpin or like just Whereas with women, it's like they're already there. It's like, like, and that's the thing. Like a king
right,
has
guys,
to administer.
I gotta go.
We scared him away.
I just wanted to. No, it's just we just fucked the house. But great stream, Barry. So real quick, my favorite X-Men movies are 2, 1, Wolverine, Days of Future Past, and Dark Phoenix. Yes, I will say Dark Phoenix is underrated. And the first like montage opening credit scene of X-Men Origins, where it's just them fighting in all the different wars.
Fair enough. If you want to,
that's what the movie should have been.
Yep. If you want to hop on when you get to your battle station, feel free.
Oh, okay, cool. Have a great stream, everyone.
Have a good one, then.
Yeah, that was nice of them to kind of pop in there. But yeah, it's like, princesses, they have no responsibilities. I mean, they, relatively speaking, anyway. But like, I always found that, but you know what I'm talking about? Like the men want to be kings, women want to be princesses kind of stereotype.
Well,
absolutely.
There's also the, again, going back to how men and women view power. Men view power of, look at how useful I am to others. Like, look at the value I can present to others. People adore me because of the things I can do. Women view, look at how many people like me because of me. Like, that's a very different, like
why do you think superheroes appeal to young boys so well? Like, why do you think, even to this day, superheroes is largely a boys' market? Like, they're trying desperately to market superheroes to women, but like most girls, I honestly don't think are really that interested. Whereas like, young girls, they're more interested in anime.
Well, it's not biologically in their best interest. I mean, we've got these stupid comics now where they got like, was it Jessica Drew or whatever, who's pregnant like 9 months as a superhero? It's like, how stupid is that from a biological perspective? I mean,
oh my God, you have no idea the amount of pregnant women who blasted that.
Yeah, like you should be in a position now where you're basically, you've got another life depending on you. Every action you take could just be a miscarriage away. You know what I mean? Like, you should,
especially as a spider person. Like,
yeah,
my God, like the amount of flips and twists.
Oh, that abdominal work. Yeah. And it's like any, God, my sister, she had something called pre-eclamptic toxemia, where her body basically treated her kid like she had the flu. It was like a virus trying to get, it made her deathly ill. Okay. I couldn't imagine wanting from a sociological, anthropological perspective to have that be your law enforcement, or that be your hero to go fight crime. Like, these are the people that that law enforcement would protect. That's why it's in our best interest from a biological perspective to send guys out to go die. Because if you've got a tribe of, say, 10 people and 6 of them are men and 4 of them are women, and you send those 4 women and 2 men out to go die to defend your tribe, and they all die, your tribe ain't lasting long. But if you send 6 of those men out to go die, or no, 5 of those men to go out to die, and you've got 1 man with 4 women, guess what? Your tribe can continue.
I think.
And sorry, I know that's a weird.
Yeah, it's like, why do you think like we kind of hear the same thing? It's like, man comes home from war, impregnates women, or like he goes into battle and like the woman's pregnant, kind of thing. Like, it's a natural circle of life. It's just like, women throughout history have been the power behind the scenes. Okay.
Oh yeah, they ruled Rome.
Like, men may slay the boar, but it's women who are telling them which boar to slay.
Yeah, and then how to deal with the spoils of it.
Exactly. Like, women have always been the manager of the household. It's throughout history. It's like a man, like you saw it in like the Victorian era. A man comes home with his pay. He literally gives his entire pay to his wife. The wife takes it up, divvies it up. It's like, okay, here's 2 shillings, go to the bar. And the man would take those 2 shillings and go to the bar. And that's how it's been literally since time immemorial. Like, and the thing is, yes, gender roles exist for a reason. Like, that's fine. But it doesn't mean that things can't be broken. You can have a female action girl. You can have a woman go to war or whatever. Like, but I think the problem with modern society is it's we've gone beyond. Yeah, women can do this too. To women should be doing it instead of men.
Yeah. Well, only powerful women act like men. And it's like, have you not seen Game of Thrones? Have you not seen, like, women have their own power that men cannot wield.
Yeah,
You know?
it's like
Absolutely.
it's like the old joke. It's like women want equality in business, but they don't want equality. Where's the equality for garbage truck workers? Where's the equality for sewage treatment? Where's the gender equality for sewage treatment workers? Which, by the way, those people get paid really good money. By the way,
Yeah, they do.
They do. And good for them. Honestly, they deserve it.
Always see
Yeah.
the pushes for gender equality in the comfortable jobs. You know, like, oh, we want in the office where it's air conditioned, they can be all pretty. You know, like you don't really like. And also, you know the joke. It's like, oh, draft comes. Oh, every girl's a housewife now.
We'll be seeing that soon. Oof.
Oh, actually, did you see like kind of report through Ukraine, like when they started doing the draft, like they actually like drafted trans men, like what like I identify as a woman.
Yeah, we don't care.
You're enough of a man to hold a gun.
Yep. Yeah, I saw. Yeah, it's biology has this nasty thing of no matter how much you try to deny it, it's still kind of there.
Yep. You know, it's like and it's the also saying thing. It's like every woman's a feminist until they need to open a jar of pickles.
Well, yeah. There's no feminists in a foxhole.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, there's no racism in a foxhole either, but that's
Yeah.
the point.
Well, that's the thing is with all this modern propaganda that's dividing us by the sexes, aka feminism, or dividing us by the races, you know, BLM and all that. Like, this is intentional, man. This is sowing division, so that we can be all fighting each other.
Occupy Wall Street scared the crap out of them. It totally did. Like you didn't start like really the stuff really didn't start to really get pushed until after Occupy Wall Street. Like they saw. You know, like, and the thing is, in the 2000s, we were fed healthy revolutionary diet. Like they saw what happened with Anonymous, like the Anonymous stuff, like with the Scientology. It scared them, and people were treating V for Vendetta as a playbook. Like that was an inspirational movie for an entire generation of people, and it scared people. It scared them.
Yeah. Well.
The Hunger Games book came out during that time, not necessarily the movies, but like Hunger Games as well. Like you notice how we don't really get movies like the Hunger Games anymore, where it's like fighting against the corrupt regime, you know?
Well, I find it absolutely appalling. Yeah, I find it absolutely appalling that George Orwell or Aldous Huxley or Kurt Vonnegut aren't books in schools' curricula anymore.
See,
like
here's the
Animal
thing.
Farm.
If I were a teacher, if I were an English teacher, the assignment that I give out every year is they have to read 2 books back to back. Okay, they need to read The Giver.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay, they have to read The Giver, and then they immediately have to read 1984 because I think those books. Oh my god! If you read them together, because like actually. When I was going to high school, we actually did that. Like we had a reading class, and like we actually read those books back to back. And oh my god, it is such a perspective shift to read like the utopian society which is not very good, and the dystopian society. It's like, you know, the two extremes, and realize how similar they are. And like basically the thing that I got out of that book is perfection lies in imperfection. And you just need to look at the world around you. It's like we've had the capability, like, okay, take t-shirts for example. We have the capability of stamping out perfect copies of t-shirts like infinitely. Yet the thing we value is handcrafted stuff. Like we can turn out baseball bats all day long, but a hand carved baseball bat is insanely more valuable than like the perfect copy.
Yep. One story I'd like to add to that reading list is Kurt Vonnegut had this short story called Harrison Bergeron, and it is eerie how that is playing out today. So the premise behind Harrison Bergeron was, in this dystopian society in the not too distant future, equality is of outcome, equity essentially is the most important thing in the world.
Oh, the thing they're pushing for.
So anybody that has any exceptional talents or aesthetic beauty or physical characteristics or whatever are now, instead of the dumb being elevated to the smart, they drag the exceptionals down to the lower levels.
What is the phrase in Japan? The nail that sticks out is the one that gets a hammer or something.
Yeah. Well. So Harrison Bergeron, the eponymous character, is an absolute genius, and his dad had excellent vision. So his dad is forced to wear corrective lenses to make his vision worse. His mother, I believe she had excellent hearing, so she has to wear a hearing aid that blasts sound, making her less better at hearing. And with Harrison Bergeron, because he was a genius, they performed all these brain neurosurgery on him. But apparently his brain pathways were able to compensate for all of the surgeries that they did. And the guy was just a genius. And as he was reached his late teen years and he became so disillusioned with how he's basically being told, don't be special, don't be better than anybody else, because that's ism, he ends up hijacking a TV station, or I believe it was I can't remember if it was a TV station or a radio station, but I'm fairly certain it was a TV station, because he befriends this ballerina who is this girl who had exceptional, she was basically like a female Baryshnikov. She could be, the best dancer ever. So they forced her to wear this stupid bodysuit that had all these weights on it to limit her mobility. And she ended up taking it off, her suit, and Harrison filmed her when he hijacked the TV station and broadcast on live TV, this beautiful ballet dancer. And he starts talking about all these books that were forbidden because they were written by exceptional people, and all this media that was buried and burned because it was, it featured people that were better than the rest of us. And, because, in a world where equity, the equality of outcome is paramount, these are considered, cardinal sins. So at the end of the show, the book, the police come in and basically snipe them. They kill everybody that was involved in this exceptionals airing thing. They kill everybody or whatever. But the shining kind of the seed that was planted was a couple of kids saw it. And, the closing line was something like, despite it being silenced, it was still there in every one of us. And it was like,
and that's the thing. I think this is a thing that I think I just call it the powers that be. I don't like that term, but it's best thing. That's the thing that I think they just can't short of outright tyranny, which they know they can't do outright tyranny, because, or at least see, they're trying to do a boiling the frog. The problem is they turned up the heat too quickly.
Yep.
That's the problem. It's obvious they're going for the boiling the frog, but this kind of acceptance takes generations. It would probably take 3 or 4 different generations in order to accept, change that willingly, because you have people who remember the 60s. You still have World War II veterans. There are people alive today who probably saw Hitler with their own eyes.
Fewer of them, though.
What?
But there's a lot fewer of them today, though.
Yeah, but the fact is that there are people there are Holocaust survivors still alive today. George Takei was a victim of the Japanese internment camps. He's spoken about it. I don't like the guy, but I listen to that, and it's there are these people who have experienced this stuff. Or example, when you one of my favorite videos is you had this young 20-something talking about how great communism was, and this old man, he's like, you know nothing about communism. It's like, what do you know? I lived in communism. Communism didn't end in Russia till the early 90s. So there's a crap. Also, hell, Darius, what's up? But there's a crap ton of people who still lived under communism. Stalin died in the 50s. There are people who were in the gulag. There are people who were victims of Stalin. And that's just getting into Western stuff. We haven't even talked about the ethnic cleansing in Rwanda. All the atrocities that have gone on in Africa, South America. There are all these people. And it's they see the stuff that's happening.
Well, that's part of revisionism, though. That's why they're waiting for our generations to die off, so that all of the garbage that we're seeing in schools now will become the zeitgeist or the common knowledge.
And that's a problem. They tipped their hand too early because, like I said, communism didn't die out until the early 90s. Like I was born in 87. When I was born, the USSR was still a thing, and I'm only 35. So
it's in Street Fighter 2.
So like it's gonna be. It would have had to been at least 50 years before they might have had a shot at this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But like they tipped their hand way too early, and they're getting a rejection of it.
Well, we live in an information age.
Yeah.
You can lie all you want, but when someone's got a cell phone, no, that never happened. Literally, here's 10 or 12 people with cell phones.
Tank Man. Like as hard as China tried to deny that Tiananmen Square happened, outside of China, you can easily look up Tank Man.
Mm-hmm.
It's like literally the LA riots wouldn't have happened if Snowden hadn't videotaped the Rodney King beatings.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can you imagine, like, if there were cell phones in 92 Los Angeles? Like, imagine like the 3 different angles we would have gotten for the Rodney King beatings. Like, imagine like the videos that would have come out for the LA riots.
Oh God. Yeah, all my people would be up on the roofs with guns.
God bless rooftop Koreans. God bless you all.
Annyeonghaseyo.
I'm sorry, like rooftop Koreans are like one of my favorite things to come out of that. So
yeah, they're my spirit animal.
Yeah.
Absolute heroes.
Yes. Oh man.
And then it's like you then you have like with BLM where it's like all the rioting that's happening, they destroy neighborhoods, they destroy black businesses. You don't think those black business owners are be like, I supported you guys, I put up the sign, I like all that stuff, and you still destroy my business? You're like, it's like people are like these like, and this happened like 2 years ago. You don't think these people are going to remember that?
I know, dude. It was so heartbreaking watching that one woman who's like, dude, even with insurance, they ain't covering this. This is my livelihood. Everything I ever had, I invested in this, and it's gone. And she's crying, and I'm just like, why was this done? Like this was a government-sanctioned destruction of property.
And the people who did this, the people who support this.
For 2 weeks in 2020, it was okay to have mass gatherings as long as you were doing a protest.
A riot, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, come on.
I think the most sickening thing about that, like the people who lost stuff in those riots, like their livelihoods and whatnot, you see them and they're crying, like you said, is that the people who supported the riots, the people who are totally on, BLM's side, are like, oh, well, she must have done something to deserve it, blah, 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 blah. Trying any way they can to justify it.
Nix, as a woman,
there is no.
As a woman, I'm sure as soon as you heard those words, we wanted to throw up in your mouth. Because how many times have men told women, you deserve
you made me do it.
You got groped, you got R-worded. Oh, you probably did something to deserve it. Like seriously, they're using those like
anytime.
Do these people not have brains? They're using the exact same phrasing as stuff like, come on.
Like, it's not just like when the women that happened to. You got like these poor old people, like old men, old folks who are just like, my livelihood, my memories, everything that's ever mattered to me. It's, well, you had to have done something to deserve it, otherwise it wouldn't have happened. No, these riots were just an excuse to go out and ruin other people's lives. That's all it is. It was done out of selfishness and a desire to hurt.
And the thing is, it's just gonna bite these people in the butt because you are literally you're taking these people. You not only are you making them angry, but you just literally just took away the thing they had to lose.
Yep.
So now they're angry, and with nothing to lose, and that is literally the most dangerous. I don't care if you're 90 years old and frail. If you're angry and you have nothing to lose, you're the most dangerous person on this planet.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the problem is these people are creating like young men who are disillusioned in life, and then they have nothing going on, and you just keep making them angrier and angrier. you're creating I want to say like they're just creating in their own opposition, like they want a civil war, but the problem is it won't be a civil war, it'll be a slaughter. Because here's the thing, you know, like we like to say, like if there's a left versus right civil war, the right's gonna win, because yes, people on the left have guns, but more people on the right have guns, more people on the right have training, more people on the right have the organization. If there's an actual conflict, there is no way the left can win.
Well, the left has something. Oh, sorry.
The left has organization. They are better organization. They're better organizing. They're better at the crowd. They're better at creating a crowd and having it disappear. That is literally their only advantage.
No, dude, they have zeal, so they have unity. Like the right audits itself. Like when somebody on the right does something wrong, the right tend to want to audit that and be like, oh, well, this guy needs to go then. Whereas the left says, bury that information. That's not true. That's conspiracy.
See, the thing is, and I think the left knows this, is that they're basically making the right angry enough up to a point. Because you notice every time they get so far where it's like starting to get out of hand, they always going to pull back, because they know if you give the right a common enemy and a reason to go after it, they will, and they'll be happy to do so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like that's why I think a civil war will never actually happen, because and I think the government will never go after their people like this, because they know that, because they know that because you're like, oh, like you really think, you know, we would stand up against the most powerful military on earth? Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. And I'm sorry, we're a lot better equipped than the Afghan army.
Yeah.
And have a lot more training. And plus, and the U.S. is great at mass destruction, but they have proven time and time again that they are hopelessly weak against guerrilla armies and insurgencies, because they can't take out little small pockets. They are great at mass destruction.
But there's one catch, and this is why they're doing this. The reason why Afghanistan and Vietnam won is because they weren't demoralized. Okay, one had communism, the other one had religion. Okay, that was a unifying factor across the guerrilla, inferior numbers, inferior tech, or whatever. In the United States, we are demoralized. It's stage one of ideological subversion, or the communist conquest of the country.
I would disagree with that. It's like, I think instead of demoralization, I think it's just more disengagement.
Sorry.
Because the thing, because if people have a reason to fight, they will, even to this day. I think it's just, and I myself have felt this, where it's like, I'm just tired of all this bickering. I just want to do my own thing. So I just only really engage. But I'm still a passionate person, because to me, when I hear the word demoralization, I think of more of a paralyzation of both thought and mind, of both body and mind.
But but it's more than just. It's not despair. You can be demoralized in many ways. I mean, we're literally fighting a war right now, whether or not we want to admit it, with a country that wrote the book on war. And
if you're talking about Ukraine, it's another proxy war.
No, I'm talking about China. But we have Chinese assets in our government right now, and this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is literally why I'm explaining why there's a demoralization.
Well, if we're fighting a war against China, China's doing a very bad job of it, because they're doing a really good job at killing themselves. So
yeah, they are, but they're doing a better job at killing us by our own means. We're poisoned. We're being ideologically subverted. If you look at, we have assets in the White House that got busted for coke. We have people who were
Hunter's coke. That was Hunter's coke.
Yeah, exactly. We have his laptop with information, damning information, that this guy committed treason. Okay, and yet nobody's doing anything about it. Demoralization. People are bitching and complaining. The Republicans are just controlled opposition.
We have audio recording of Biden himself. This is the thing. If you actually look at Watergate, the gold standard of corruption. You know what happened with Watergate? They broke into an office and that's it. We have stuff that happened during the Bush administration. Now, Obama, Trump even, that is like 1,000,000 times worse than Watergate.
Yeah.
And no one cares.
Yeah, and nobody's going to do anything about it because we're all distracted by TikTok videos and gossip about what celebrity X got smacked by celebrity Y.
It's a Roman gladiatorial games.
Yeah. The religion is no longer the opiate of the masses. Technology is, and social media.
Can I just circle us back very quickly to like the riots and whatnot? I was gonna bring up too the whole thing with Kyle Rittenhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And how much it rubs me the wrong way that the left have tried to make the people he killed, in self-defense, mind you, who were proven, at least two of them were proven to be like a wife beater and a pedophile into their hero, into martyrs.
Not to mention the Rittenhouse case is literally the most clear-cut case of self-defense you'll ever get.
Well, that's because it was state-run. It was state-sanctioned. I mean, again, going back to China actually has this thing called the Dongbei Mafia. And what they do is they hire these low-life thugs to act as unofficial enforcers so the government can have plausible deniability. So when, say, a house needs to be moved because they're putting in a new freeway and the owners of the house are, no, we don't want to sell. This is our family home. And then suddenly a bunch of thugs come in and burn the house down. The government could say, oh, what a shame. That's too bad. Those evil criminals did that. Here's half of what we were originally offering you. Get the hell out.
I mean, the U.S. has been doing that forever. I mean, remember the KKK was at one point the military arm of the Democratic Party. Now it's Antifa.
Yep. Antifa is literally the Dongbei Mafia. It's the same.
And the Patriot Front is very clearly a psyop.
Yeah, that's all. Those are feds. Those guys are glowing in the dark. Like it's scary. It's you don't even have to be a conspiracy theorist to even see this. Like we're all labeled now like tinfoil hat wearing or whatever, and it's like, dude, just question the narrative, and suddenly you're
look at Alex Jones. Half the shit he says turns out to be true. Like the whole frogs gate. Like for example, the whole frogs gate stuff.
Atrazine in the water. Yep. RFK confirmed it, and now they're assassinating they're character assassinating RFK. You know, he's a Democrat, and it's funny that his own side hates the guy because he's like, look, this is what they're doing. I was a victim of this.
And he said some stuff about some bad stuff about Sandy Hook, but a lot of other people did, and that was total political assassination right there. That was the testing the waters for total cancellation right there. And honestly, with Alex Jones, they didn't even do a full job. They haven't killed him yet.
Nope. That won't be long though.
Yeah.
Ridicule him, silence him, financially destroy him, and then finally off him.
Yeah, they've done all but kill him, and it still hasn't worked.
Yeah, can't kill a message.
All I can say now is that since they started to, in not only just kind of allow pedophilia, but they endorse pedophiles now as their heroes, their martyrs, fucking saints, whatever you want to call them. I used to have really no ill will towards the left, the progressives. Now it's very personal, and I can only say one thing: it makes me absolutely fucking sick.
Yeah.
There's only one point you really can't cross with someone like me, and that is the children. You stay the fuck away from children.
Well, so I have a lot of LGB friends, and they're like, we're done with the rainbow stuff. Like that. That got out of hand. It doesn't represent us anymore.
I mean, look at how much of a wet fart June was. Look at how literally even last year it was a lot more out there. Not even any time before this year. A company would not have taken down the rainbow before June was up, but now you had them do it 3 days in. I really do think Target and Bud Light is really starting to scare some companies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good. And honestly, it's only the beginning. It is only the beginning. Because here's the thing that really pisses me off is you have all these celebrities oh, anime, it's pedophilic. You have all these little girls, these lollies. Then those same people will just be all creepy and shit.
Yeah. Well, what is it? Another name for male feminist is sexual predator. You know.
Basically,
Well,
yeah.
here's the thing: male feminist is the modern day gay hating politician, because like the whole joke of like, oh, the gay hating politician got caught with a male prostitute.
Yep.
Like that
Or
happened over and over.
fucking
Like that
60-person
happened time
orgy.
and time again.
Yeah.
Also, I kind of want to swing back, like we were talking about, like Hollywood kind of forcing you to do stuff.
Mhm.
I want to say this. I am really scared for Bella Ramsey. I'm really concerned for her. She's the co-star of The Last of Us. Like the fact that like he came out as non-binary and like, me and Pedro Pascal had lots of conversations on set about gender and all this stuff. I'm like,
what?
Oh, that poor girl.
And she's
now with they them.
And like I liked her as an actress. Like I first saw her on Game of Thrones. She was Lyanna Mormont. She literally sold the show.
Oh yeah, she did.
I'm concerned for her. Like we all know what Hollywood does to child actors. We all know that.
Well,
so it's like, and we all know that like what's Eleven's actress's name? She got groomed.
Millie Bobby
She
Brown?
got groomed by Drake really hard.
Oh yeah.
Because like remember like Drake was like the rumor is he's kind of a pedophile, and like she was texting with Drake. Like why does Millie Bobby Brown at 12 years old need to be texting with Drake? Like why?
That's some R. Kelly stuff going on.
Disgusting. Well, let's go. I want to talk about Elliot Page, who like back when it was Ellen Page was my first lesbian crush. I'm not gonna fucking lie.
She was gorgeous.
I give it another 5 years, and she's gonna detransition because here's the thing.
Yeah, she looks absolutely fucking miserable.
We're about 5 years out from the pendulum swinging back the other way, and we are gonna see like a Me Too level of like because Hollywood works. It's like once you're useful, like once they want to get rid of all these old farts from Hollywood, like how Harvey Weinstein, like they only got rid of him once he wasn't useful anymore. Like we're gonna start to see like, oh, all these Hollywood producers, they groom me. Like we're gonna see a Me Too style, like exploitation of these people when they want to get rid of the old guard in about 5 to 10 years max. We're gonna start to see that en masse. Elliot Page is gonna like detransition. She's gonna become Ellen Page again. She'll probably do interviews about how like she was forced to do it. I mean, look at like what's that one celebrity where it's like she became non-binary and then like she's like, oh, I'm not because people are being mean.
Since you've been gone.
Demi Lovato.
Demi Lovato.
Yeah,
like that was performative. We all know that. But like,
oh, absolutely, she's just fucking nuts, and she wants attention.
Like, and we're gonna start to see a lot of like people start to cut. Like, I wouldn't say it's gonna go full on right wing, but we're gonna start to see more of a shift back towards the center here in the next 5 years or so, because people are already getting like fed up with it, and we're already starting to see the shift. But like, it's just gonna ramp up.
Well, yeah, conservatism is the new punk rock, which is really scary. Like, sorry.
Sorry. What I was gonna say.
Also, I just want to say thank you, Paul Joseph Watson, for quoting that.
Ellen Page, back when she was still Ellen Page, as everyone's pointed out by now, was really fucking cute. Now, as a guy, as Elliot, she or he or whatever you want to say, looks absolutely miserable. She looks underfed. She looks like she's on like 17 different fucking depression medications. And more than that, it's really affected her acting career. Like, the Umbrella Academy, they had to change a female character that she played instead of getting another actress, had to change them into a trans man just to keep up with this whole thing.
Look at Ellen's acting in season 1, like season 1 and 2 versus season 3. Like, she's a lot more lively.
She was amazing in the first one. Exactly. Like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but something happened to her.
Yes, it was a personal trainer. It's the same personal trainer that Kanye West had. And he's a Canadian.
Oh, fuck me.
Yeah, they're pushing that stuff.
Well, Canada is like 5 times more fucked than we are, so.
Well, yeah, I mean, they got Castro.
Yeah, we have Justin Trudeau.
Yep. But good luck going to the West Coast and trying to own property.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Well,
the
what I
Chinese
want to
brought
know,
all that up.
Yeah.
because they're bringing back a lot of old X-Men characters for this new Deadpool movie, and a lot of people pointed this out on Twitter. What are they gonna do for fucking Kitty Pryde? Because Ellen Page was Kitty Pryde.
They're not
you
going to bring
know,
her back.
and-
They're not going to bring her back.
No, well, they wouldn't, because the only other option, if they did bring her back, was to make Kitty Pryde a trans man and be like, oh yeah, I transitioned, blah blah blah.
Actually, guys, I gotta pull.
That'd be a great way to kill your fucking movie.
Yeah.
Did you know that Ellen Page was only Kitty Pryde in the third movie? They actually had two different actresses for the first and second.
Yeah, I was gonna say they could just replace her, so who cares?
Yeah.
Ellen, Kitty was in the first two movies, but it was different actresses, their kind of background. But Ellen was only in the third movie. And Days of Future Past. She is de facto Kitty Pryde, but she only came in as Kitty Pryde for the third movie. So it's like,
yeah, well, even the road
Carl
cut
Price.
existed, which pretty much cuts her appearance and importance to that plot line to practically nothing.
Yeah, the road cut is mandatory, man. To me, that's the definitive version of the film. I found it really weird that they used Kitty Pryde for all that, and then it was like, well, what happened to Rogue? Like, she was literally the star of the previous X-Men movies. You know, like she was the origin character that we followed, and then
she
it's
was
like
the audience eyes.
Yeah, and I can't. What was the name of the actress that played her? The Cajun chick?
Anna Paquin.
Anna Paquin. Yeah, dude, she freaking nailed it, man.
We're probably gonna see Anna Paquin come back. I bet. How much? I really hope
I
they
wouldn't
put her in
mind.
the '90s outfit with the leather jacket. That would.
Oh yeah.
I don't know about that, but at least give her something that's semblance to the green and yellow outfit. You can ditch the jacket.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to remember in the comic books, Rogue has had quite a few outfits before and after the iconic '90s animated look, and
yeah, but that's the one that people associate with.
Well, yeah, but what if you could? I mean, honestly, if it was just me, you could bring her back and she could wear her original outfit when she first met up with the X-Men, where it was the green outfit with the
Marvel Girl one
stripe. No, the white stripe, and then she has the kind of like the hoodie on the back.
Here's what I want. Here's what I want to happen. I want to see Famke Johnson in the classic Phoenix costume, like the green and the gold with the sash. I just think Famke Johnson would look really good in that outfit.
Man, dude, '90s or early 2000s Famke Johnson. Damn.
Talk about thick lives ruining lives.
I'm gonna say something kind of probably gonna be kind of controversial.
She was always on top. If you get the joke, you're awesome.
I'm going to say something that might be a little controversial with some people. I actually did not grow up with the 90s X-Men. I grew up with the early 2000s Evolution variety of the characters.
Oh,
and I love
that. I like that Rogue. That Rogue is a lot more well developed.
My powers are your powers, and I can take more than one.
Well, she was also more of a goth-like chick, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, she. I don't know.
Also, what is it about the 2000s and just being the haven of beautiful goth girls? you know that meme. It's I blame the 2000s for my taste in women.
I still can't believe Drake and Josh tried to make it look like Drake getting two hot goth chicks was a bad thing. That's paradise for a lot of people. You're
Also, I'm still not convinced that Josh was just secretly John Tron. I'm still not convinced.
So if I can interject here, I just had a very bad thought. Hey, Lawrence, what would you do with $1 million? I'll tell you what I'd do, man. 2 goth girls at the same time.
Well, then what would you do with the other 900 and whatever? Okay, you can spend $3,000.
Hide it from Uncle Sam.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I know they got.
I in a private island.
Yeah, a private island.
But yeah, let's wrap this thing up. We've been going almost 3,000. 1,000 hours, almost 3 hours. Good conversation. Let's get our final words in. So, Dee Dee, what's your final words, and where can people find you?
I don't have a final word. I think everything that I've said had this. I just tell people like what you like, try to share what you like, and if somebody doesn't like it, just let it go. There's not worth, it's too much stuff to do in life to get bent out of shape over all this stuff. And you can find me on Twitter at just find me on Twitter.
All right, Nix, final words, and where can people find you?
Yeah, I think I said all I need to say. Like,
all right, Infantile. What do you got?
Oh yeah, yeah. If you're interested in fantasy stuff, you can check out my book on infinitesachronicles.com. First book is on sale on Amazon. Second book's crowdfunding campaign should begin at the end of this year. And yeah, you can hit me up on Twitter at Infinitale Comic. So yeah, and thanks for having me, man.
Thank you. And thank you guys for being here. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to check out my Patreon. Got some cool stuff. Once I get things going, we'll be doing an after party after this. You guys can, ask me some more kind of questions, get a little spicier and whatnot. So this has been Nick from the Phoenix Press. And remember, I can only show you the door. You're the ones to walk through it.